Hail Skulls and Shadows, welcome back to another episode of Podcast from the Twilight World. I am beyond excited to share this episode with you, my friends. Today we have a very special episode featuring the likes of the legendary artist Felipe Machado Franco, the artist behind the covers of At the Edge of Time, Beyond the Red Mirror, the reissues, Traveler's Guide to Space and Time, and so many more. Stick around to the end because Felipe not only shares his process, but also an alternate cover for one of the albums only seen by Hansi himself. And of course, now us. He also shares things hidden within the artwork that you would have no idea ever existed unless he was here showing it to us personally. So you're going to want to stick around right to the end. Without further ado, my friends, welcome. Hello, Guardians of the Blind and Travelers in Time, and welcome. I, as always, am your humble bard, and today we are honored by a special guest on the podcast, the man who makes visions come true, Felipe Machado Franco. Welcome, Felipe.
Hey, guys, how's it going? Bards, I should say. Super happy to be here. We put together this thing like 2 days ago, right? That I reached you.
Exactly 2 days ago, actually. Yeah. But we're looking forward to it. There's a lot of cool things and a lot of, your career has spanned a lot of different artists. You've done work with Iced Earth, you've done work with Rhapsody of Fire, you've done work with Iron Savior, just to name a few. And not to mention, of course, the Bards and myself probably know you best from your work with Beyond the Red Mirror, At the Edge of Time, and so many more. But before we get into that, as I understand it from your interviews and from our personal conversations, you are the self-proclaimed biggest Blind Guardian fan out there.
Oh man, what did I do?
So, well, tell me how this started. Yeah. There's got to be a way. This like at least a passion in there. How did you become a Blind Guardian fan?
That's a great question. Well, okay, I was born in Bogota, where I live, but because of my parents' jobs with international projects, dad being an engineer, mom being an educator, we would travel to different parts of the globe, Europe, Africa, Canada, the United States, Brazil, and in general, in terms of heavy metal, my older brothers, they brought heavy metal into the house with Judas Priest and Motorhead and Iron Maiden and Def Leppard. And then at some point we reestablished here in Bogota, and I had the chance to reconnect with some old school friends, and we started a band called Hellbender back then. That was like the mid 90s, 94 probably. And we were full into heavy metal, of course, Maiden and Judas and Halloween. And one of the guitar players of that band, we're still friends. We live nearby. His name is also Juan Felipe. One day he called me to my parents' house where we used to rehearse, and he was like, he was the guy in the band that would download illegally like all the new music. He was the guy that was keeping us like he showed us Ed Guy and Virgin Steel and many other bands. And just like that, one day in the afternoon, he was like, dude, you gotta listen to this shit. It's like Halloween, but heavier, trashier. And this guy has some balls to sing. And he played maybe Welcome to Dying or Valhalla or something on the phone. And I was on the other side like, what are these melodies? I mean, like, what's this? And like, dude, German, of course. The guys have the most epic name. I don't know if you're ready. Their name is Blind Guardian. I was like, what? Is this new? Is this new? And he was like, no, apparently they had like 4 records, man. And then here in Bogota, there were like 3 heavy metal shops. and you will they didn't have like the largest stock, but you could go there to the owner like, dude, could you see if the catalog has some gamma ray or some blind guardian, and just get me like all the records you can find, and you will have to wait 2 months. And then you will wait 2 months thinking like it's right now on a box at an airport or in the middle of the ocean, but my music is coming.
The
A
days
month and a
before the
half or
internet.
2 months. Yeah, and you were like, shit.
Or
But the day the store owner will call you, that was the happiest day of the year. It was like, yeah. So it was just like that, and every month or every few weeks we would discover a new band, and Blind Guardian was one of those discoveries. I'm almost sure the first record I got from them was Imaginations from the Other Side, probably, or Somewhere Far Beyond. And and once I heard their music, I got completely hooked. And back then, and we still do it, we would get into this beer fights like, my favorite band is Halloween. No, my favorite. And at some point I was like, dude, Blind Guardian is the top. I mean, like, I'm not stopping my listening on Halloween and Gamma and stuff. But for me, if I would ever tattoo myself, I didn't do it. I would tattoo myself with I don't know, with the Blind Guardian. And each one of us, after the rehearsals, we'll get into this childish fights where when everyone would fight for one of their ideal bands. The other guitar player would fight for Nocturnal Rites, and the other for Ed Guy. And then the bass player, which was the oldest and the wisest one, was like, "Fuck it, Halloween. Everything starts with Halloween," and that's how it got started. And connected to what we're gonna be talking about today, I guess. Blind Guardian also brought to us and to me the art of Andreas Marshall. And for the very first time after Derek Riggs, because you would connect Derek Riggs with Iron Maiden, and apparently the rates that he has or had as an artist were reachable for a band like Iron Maiden, but not other bands. So Iron Maiden, in terms of visuals, was high over there. Like we have the budgets to show you these worlds that we create, and then other bands were not that lucky. And then amazing artists starting coming out. The once Andreas Marshall became the creator of all the German power metal visual worlds with that level of complexity and colors and depth of feel and character design. I know that the same impact that the Blind Guardian had on me music wise was the same as the moment I discovered Andreas Marshall's illustration work, and I was like, this is so logical. I mean, if you listen to this is the world, this is the soundtrack of this cover artwork. I mean, that I want to live there. Like that's it. It's like almost many years after, when I guess someone like Peter Jackson gets the chance to create the movies of the Lord of the Rings, and he has to choose an art director. He thought, I better get Alan Lee, that already illustrated the Lord of the Rings, or no one else. Like, if I don't get that dude, I'm gonna fuck it up. And somehow Andreas Marshall, I would love to ask him this question sometime, and maybe he'll be the guy to do it eventually. I would love to ask him, how close was he to the music of those bands? How much inspiration it brought to him, if he was able to listen to premixes or go to the band rehearsals, because he was also in Germany. And I would love to ask him if his visual style was influenced by the music of bands like Gravedigger or Blind Guardian, or so many bands from Europe and Germany that he has worked with. And once I saw his work, I thought, I don't know how I'm gonna pull it off, but draw or die. Draw or die. Because the original plan was 5 kids from Bogota hoping to become the Colombian Angra. You know the band Angra from
Yeah,
Brazil?
yeah. Another power
So
metal staple.
right, we they started in the 90s, and we have frontiers as a country with Brazil. And once Angra manifested himself, we thought, dude, we're like a nearby country. If they could, if they made it over there, we can make it over here. Many years later, you you come to realize that everybody has a singular story, and you cannot assume that the story of Angra in any other way would replicate on a nearby country. But our point of reference eventually, or from that point, was like, we're gonna make this band Hellbender become the Colombian Angra. It didn't happen. You have to put together many things that have to happen for a band to transcend the test of time, and find a sound and become commercially viable, or half commercially viable. So that didn't happen. That was the original plan. And then the other plan in the back of my mind was, I have to find a way to make heavy metal a lifestyle. And it's not going to be music, and not from Colombia at that point. Socially, the 90s is still with a lot of violence over here. Bands not stopping by on their tours in Bogota, because we had one of the worst reputations as a country back then. Uh, Many things not disposed to make a cultural movement as heavy metal to happen in terms of commercial possibilities here in Colombia. But in my mind, I was like, there's got to be a way. There's got to be a way that I can somehow make heavy metal a lifestyle, and it's not going to be singing or playing bass guitar. So when I talk about this, it was pretty organic. But going back, I mean, Blind Guardian was for me discovered back then. Andres Marshall came along. I started collecting the music, and then the next step was finding out a way to see them live back then.
So, question for you then. Obviously, Andreas Marshall was a huge influence on you. What cover of his is your favorite?
Imaginations from the other side.
How come?
The two sides. In many ways, well, the concept surrounding the two sides of the mirror is the most potent one for me to choose it. All the little details. I guess it's his fourth album cover for the band, so he, at that point, obviously was right at home in terms of his relationship with the band. Now that I have done many artworks and covers for Blind Guardian, and I had to do this homework for this meeting today when I had to go back to my backups. And there's some old Blind Guardian artworks that I'm hating right now, dude. That I look at them and I'm like, what the fuck was I thinking?
What?
But we can talk about that. I mean, we can talk about that in a few.
We'll get there. We'll get.
But now that the Imaginations cover, and especially the back cover, the kid's room with the Sandman and all the little details on that side, the general concept of creating a circular reading of that world building, like this is one side of the mirror, turn around the record, this is that whole thing was like. And then again, maybe it's probably the first record that I was able to get from them, and the impact that it had. Also, my favorite, musically speaking, my favorite Blind Guardian record. What's your favorite one?
My favorite? Well, it's got to be. See, it's a toss-up. If I was to give three, I'd probably say it starts with Nightfall, because that's my departure point. So I got to pay respect to my roots, right? Specifically, the song "The Elder." To like this day, it still has like an emotional kind of connection. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you hear songs and they're not just great to get into that vibe, but they actually touch your spirit in kind of a way. And that was one that definitely did. At the Edge of Time, honestly, is in my top 3 for sure. It's got a lot of nods to the old Blind Guardian, but it's got so much complexity in it that it's honestly one of my favorites. Well, what would you say, like, for your top 3 albums? Imaginations is number 1. I've got that.
Somewhere Far Beyond. Nightfall, probably.
Nightfall. Yeah. That's a classic Trinity.
Also, Follow the Blind.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Follow the Blind is pretty damn, like, it's like in the statement of them saying we're power and we're trash. Deal with it.
Exactly.
That's the cool thing about that record.
Absolutely. And if
it's like we're combining the two, so you better like it. That's what I like about that record.
Well, yeah, you get the guys sometimes that are, like in the metal scenes, and they're like, oh yeah, well, Blind Guardian, they listen to, maybe a ballad or something, they get the wrong impression. I'm like, oh, okay, well, let's spin this one instead. And you put on Follow the Blind, and mind's blown, right? So going back to your art and kind of how Andreas kind of influenced you and stuff like that. One thing that I noticed, because I was going to ask you when it shifted from being a fun thing to becoming a career, but it sounds like that was always in your mind. So my question for you is, you have one thing that stands out aside from like the lines that you put in your artwork is the colors. You have like this really cool kind of gradient that you sort of, especially on Blind Guardian and some of the stuff with Rhapsody as well, this kind of multi-tone to it that just kind of, it's kind of like I don't know how to explain it because, of course, I'm not an artist, but I think you know what I'm getting at. How did you find your style?
Oh, that's a good question, because my original I studied visual arts here in Bogota. It's a 5-year academic program. And you get to see many different techniques, many different classes. Some of them involve painting. Some of them are just drawing, combining the two. And at some point I saw a basic introduction class to Photoshop. And it was a combination of fear and then discovery. It was like, oh man, this is like more practical. You can replicate the idea of painting or cutting or transparency. It's going to take me a while. But I think I'm gonna spend some time on Photoshop, and then one of the main answer to why digital, why Photoshop is just the speed, just versatility, speed and versatility, and the ability to most easily edit. Like everything's ready, but can you move this element a little bit to the right? That's what you get to do with Photoshop. You go into my studio and all of the walls have ink, original drawings, original paintings from artists that I follow. I love traditional media, but the digital media brings a lot of possibilities and time management in general. So I going back to my backups, to the first stuff I did for Blind Guardian, when I did the album cover for Voice in the Dark, the single, and At the Edge of Time. Back then, I was still relying a lot on manipulating photographs, like the first step of a digital illustration being composed of photographic elements to speed up the composition in terms of perspectives, elements, characters. And after a photo composed composition would be working, I would straight paint on top of it. And at some point, that initial photographic composition would disappear. It would mutate into digital paint. That changed over the years. Over the last 10 years, that really changed, because apart from doing arts for heavy metal bands, I also teach classes at the art faculty where I graduated from. I actually teach digital illustration.
Really?
And I also have a little studio with a couple of friends. And one of the main things we do is we like to bring to Bogota 2 or 3 artists once a year, 1 week, to do small workshops here for 20 or 30 students, artists from the video game community, the animation community, the movies community. We've had here people from Lucasfilms, from Sony Pictures, from Naughty Dog video games, from Sony video games. It's been a 10-year journey, and they come here, and it's basically a series of classes and demos when you get to see in front of you one of these guys paint something from zero or compose something from zero. It's a pretty cool format. And my partner on the studio, Sebastian Cowell, also from my point of view, really, really cool artist, and myself, we started this, and we are the very first two students of any of these events. Like we choose the artist. We're like, now let's bring this guy. And then we have the place to do the event. We get some promotion. Some local companies or even international companies have helped us to promote these events and started becoming a big thing. And when these guys come here, we learn. I mean, we're producing the event, the workshop, but we are also students, because these are all of them are digital illustrators, not in the heavy metal community, but for other mediums, other entertainment mediums. And we are, as we produce the event, I'm on the first line, like checking out the guy. I'm like, okay, he uses these filters, he paints everything from zero, so god damn it. Or he uses photographs at the end, and I'm just collecting new processes that eventually some of them I incorporate into my process. So my process has evolved a bunch over, especially the last 10 years. I now rely mostly on drawing everything from zero, looking at photographs to understand anatomy and composition, but taking the time to draw everything from zero, using a little bit of photography here and there, but to pimp up things at the end. And in terms of color, which is the question you were asking, I tend to generate fights between hot and cold, like hot tones, what you would call hot tones, reds, yellows, ochres, and versus cold tones, greens, blues, grays. It has shifted a lot, and in general, I think it started working for me, and it started working for the bands because of the if you're checking on new music, new records to buy on Amazon, the cover icons will be particularly small, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So you gotta be clever about thinking the covers as a small icon with the enough attraction for a platform as Amazon.
Okay.
It has to capture attention as a small icon. Of course, as a big icon, yeah, for sure. You wanna have it on a T-shirt. You wanna print it on a poster and have it on your wall, right? But something that I learned through the art directors and producers of the record companies is always make sure that if you look at the cover as a small icon, you're gonna notice it, because there's gonna be contrast, and that has to do with the online shops and the internet, how we sell music through the internet. It's got to do with that.
So would you say that that's changed? Like, I mean, your first one you did was for a band, I mean, that I hadn't heard of before, called is it Fuck Off? I believe that's the name of the Hell on Earth, I believe. Wow. Is the first credited one. So wow. Has that changed? That's obviously, you learned a lot in your time, but would that have changed too from that time?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm pretty sure that was not the first one. I mean, like creating something that was going to be printed on at least 500 copies of a record was probably a local band, like a friend's band, black metal from Colombia. And I was still studying art. And then I was like, hey, I can do the artwork. And they were like, yeah, sure, you can do the artwork. And we're going to print 500 copies of this record. I'm like, fuck, yeah, let's do it. And in the beginning, I worked mainly with local bands here. Probably the first bands outside of Colombia that I worked for were from Spain, probably. And the first European band that gave me a chance and I did an album cover for them is this German guitarist called Axel Rudy Pell.
Ah, okay, I don't think I've heard of
Back
them, but
then,
I saw it on your discography.
yeah, back then I had like one of the assignments in one of the multimedia classes was like create your own website and it could be your portfolio. So I was like, yeah, I have a few illustrations and a few covers of local bands. I'm gonna make this assignment of creating a first website about that, and I kept it. I kept it online. It was like the most innocent, small. But with that little first website, with some of my work, I was able to reach bands from Spain and the US, and I was able to reach this band from Germany. And I remember clearly, I reached them like a Saturday because they posted like we're recording, and I was like, okay, I've got nothing to lose. Hello, Axel Repel. This is Felipe. I'm located in Bogota. I do illustration. This is my website. I was wondering if I could do the artwork for the new record. And then 12 hours after that, I got a reply, him saying, I really like your work. This is the budget. We need it like in 2 weeks. I might as well take a chance with you. And this is what I want. And I was like, what?
Right on, man. Really?
Yeah, I was probably like back then I was like 20 something. I was like just coming out of art school. And
Wow.
then these guys were signed to SPV or AFM.
Okay.
And when I had to send the final file, I sent them to him, and he was like, "Also, please put on a copy this producer from the record company." I was like, "Oh, right, okay." And now I had an email from someone else, and then I got a reply from this guy like, "Ah, oh, Felipe, nice to meet you. Got the cover. It's pretty cool. Great job. Excellent." And I was like, great. Okay, let's just jump into it. Like, hey, thank you for the comments. Hey, by the way, I have time and I can do more artworks if you want. Uh, and the next week, he was assigning me more stuff. So one thing led to another.
So it started like that. And it's crazy because I mean, I don't know where you started before that because obviously you said you were finishing art school and stuff like that. But a year later from that album, the next year you were doing work already for the insert for Iced Earth. Just a year later. How did that happen?
Huh. That
That's
would
for
be maybe 2007, 2006, probably.
yeah, Framing Armageddon, I believe, is the first credit you got with Iced Earth, from my understanding.
Well, I was listening to Iced Earth. Maybe after I discovered Blind Guardian, a few months later, I discovered Iced Earth because they were so close as bands, and you will see the booklets of Blind Guardian. They will mention Iced Earth, and that was another way of finding out about bands. Like they're thanking all these local German bands. Let's see if they have records. You did the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So once I started working with the some first German bands with the record companies like AFM and SPV, I I thought, hey, it's not that difficult. Just reach out. Apparently, it's just reaching out. Sometimes they're going to tell you, I don't like your work, or we already have a cover artwork, or we have this block packed with this artist, fuck off. Or maybe they're going to say, hey, I like your stuff. Yeah, let's work. So
That's
I'm almost sure that I reached John and Iced Earth through their website, probably back then. And I used to have Fridays when I would just reach bands, like an entire Friday afternoon, just sending emails like, hey guys, big fan of your music. I know you're recording. This is my website, my work. Maybe we can work together. I do album covers. like an entire Friday just fishing out, just like, and it paid off. Some not all the times, but I'm pretty sure that was the case with John and Ister. And I reached him, and he got back, and he mentioned, I like to work with many artists at the same time, so you better be ready for that. So you'll be doing sketching sometimes, and maybe some coloring for on work of other guys. If you can do graphic design, we can do that also. Uh, and we can start with this. And I was doing, when I was working with John, it was all around the place. It was like sometimes sketching, sometimes doing inks, sometimes coloring my stuff, sometimes coloring other artists' stuff. Like it was like that. And something that clicked is that probably when I saw Demons and Wizards for the first time on their first European tour in Paris, and then 2 days after that on a festival at Vallingen, Germany called Bangerhead. That was 2000. I I knew how to I did my research to be able to connect with the musicians. Like if I knew that I was eventually going to be able to go into a signing session or wait outside the show with any particular band, I would go back into the band's history and figure out by interviews about what they like. So I would make my research. Like I would go like, I'm gonna meet with Hansi and with John. So talk about the new book about this mythology. Talk about this comic book. He mentioned it on an interview. Talk about this, and that. So I went there, and I would like to think I was a likable guy because of that. Not the average fan like, hey dude, I got your picture, man. I love you. A little bit of that, but I was the guy to be like, when he was just having a breathe, I was like, John, have you read the new volume of this book about whatever topic he would like? Or Hansi, did you notice that this book is going to be turned into a movie? What do you think about it? Then there was like a hook. They were like, I can talk to this guy. Like, he's a cool fan, and he's just like on top of me all the time. He we like similar things. And that's and when I started talking with John for Framing Armageddon, he remembered me from 6 years before. He remembered Paris, and he remembered Germany, and he was like, dude, now I know who you are. Of course, we talked about this comic book, and we talked about this other thing, and you mentioned that I think I mentioned something that if Uriah Heep's Demons and Wizards album inspired the name, and this and that and that. And he was like, dude, of course I remember you. Hey, nice to meet you again. And then I had pictures of those concerts, and I was like, look at us, man. 6 years ago. I was like, oh, send me that picture. You have more pictures of the show. Just playing it cool. I mean, I'm always going to be a fan, but somehow I figure out, because of going to conventions like Comic-Con and stuff like that, how to be the cool fan, the one that they would think like, I can talk without any pressure with this guy, and generate a connection.
Which you made a good podcaster, Felipe.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so.
I listen to podcasts all the time, like about movies and comics and stuff. I love this format. I mean, it's amazing.
It's nice to be able to sit down and have a conversation, right?
Yeah, generating content. And so I reached these guys back then, and then I reached by email John. And at some point back then, my brother Juan was living in New York, and at least once or twice a year we would go visit, and I would try to plan my brother's visits in New York connected to shows, to concerts nearby the New York area. And at one point, already working with John, I mentioned, dude, I'm going to visit my brother in 2 weeks in New York. Are you living in New York? He goes, no, I don't live in New York. I live in Indiana, but it's pretty nearby. why don't you get a ticket and you meet the studio and we'll talk and hang out. So I went there, pretty nice guy, and I worked for him a couple of times. I mean, last year I did an artwork for the story book that he put together with his lyrics, and from time to time we will talk about doing some art for some records, and he likes to many. The other thing with all of this is some bands, almost every band, which is normal, would like to change their cover artist from time to time, and I think it's logical. At some point, I got frustrated about it. I was like, "Fuck that shit! We're gonna be brothers till the end. I am your image. I am your conjurer of visions." But from an evolution or commercial point of view, is good for both parties, for the artist doing the artworks and for the band. For me, when it has happened, I have had situations where I would not do one or two album covers for a band and then just return to the job, redesign, rethought a new artist, and that's why I think that it's logical and it's a good thing to. I mean, in terms of Blind Guardian, which is our topic,
Yes.
it has, as an artist plus a fan, it has been the best ride ever. I mean, in terms of being responsible for X amount of album covers, single covers, album designs, merchandise, from my point of view, I'm almost sure that all of the artists that have been fortunate enough to work with Blind Guardian, I'm probably the one that has had more stuff for them made.
Actually, I was going to bring that up.
Probably.
Yeah. Like you've
Probably.
done a lot of work for Blind Guardian. I mean,
And dude, the last thing I've done for them, which is the 2 years ago when they decided to remaster and republish all the discography on vinyl, and Hansi asking me like, we're thinking about like putting the original artworks. We're not gonna blockade or negate the story, the visual story of the band, but we want tribute artworks for every single album. That's probably so far the dream job of all dream jobs that I've been able to capture.
So,
It was like really going back, and then I thought about Imagination's artwork, and I was like, oh shit, how the fuck are you supposed to create a tribute artwork for that album?
That would be my thing. Like, was there a moment of hesitation? Like, I mean, obviously it's the dream job, you know, you get to actually, you know, visit some of your favorite albums, you get to, you know, add your own spin onto it. But I mean, it's Andreas Marshall, right? I mean, like it's iconic. What do you do? Right. So was there a moment of hesitation, Felipe, ever?
Yeah, no, I mean, it was funny because my first reaction that Hansi mentioned, like, we're doing this and let's do this and one tribute artwork for each album. I went back to records that I know by memory, that if I'm having a few beers with a friend as we're doing today, it goes in the back of your mind, and once again is your soundtrack, right?
Right.
But now I was again listening to it from a different point of view. I was like, shit, okay, Follow the Blind, okay, Battalions of Fear, okay, let's read the lyrics again, let's go to the interviews if there's some, let's figure out. And some tribute artworks were easier for me to figure out in my mind. And the thing with Blind Guardian, and specifically with Hansi, is that it's been so many years that we've worked together in different projects that sometimes I don't sketch a lot the idea. I would put 2 days of work into it, which is a risk because he's free to tell me, I know this is like a lot of work in 2 days, but I don't like it. It's rare when it happens, but I would put a lot of work into an illustration past the idea of a simple sketch, which could sell the idea, but I want to go further. And 90 times out of 100, it works. Like Hansi will see the half developed illustration and say, yeah, yeah, go for it. Maybe change this, take care of this. This looks a little bit similar to something we already did, but in general, go ahead.
So,
which is a huge risk. I don't do that with any other bands.
How do you deal with, like, so in the 10%, like you said, 90%, right? In the 10% chance that you spend, 2 days working on this piece and you've put your blood, sweat, and tears into it, how do you deal with hearing that? Like, is it ever easy to accept that feedback?
Yeah, I mean, Hansi, apart from being a kick-ass singer and amazing writer, I've told him this. He is an amazing art director. Like, he doesn't draw or paint, no, that I know of, but he could be easily an art director for a game or a movie or a publication. He is an amazing art director. Like, look, I when we're doing some collaborations and when I'm doing some work for them, I eventually will get comments from the other band members. But I know that their dynamic is, I send ideas to Hansi, they'll get together, he listens to the band, they agree on a reply, and Hansi is the communicator. But in general, as I started eventually like knowing more about the band, and when they came to Colombia, it was amazing because we hanged out for 4 days, and then we met in New York, and we have met in Europe, and my conversations with Hansi evolved. I also noticed that the entire band has a complete faith in Hansi's storytelling and art direction. And I think it's because in many ways they all have a voice and they all comment, and they are a pretty organic group. But I have the feeling that since the beginning, Hansi, one of his responsibilities in the band, apart from singing and writing songs, is to figure out how to direct the visual part of the band. And it's a matter of trust. The rest of the band, you can tell that the rest of the band trusts Hansi's approach to the visuals. They all have a voice. I know they comment on their meetings, but Hansi is the one that communicates, and he comes back and like, look, in general, it's cool. Figure this out, change this. But he's the main man on the band, and it's pretty cool that he is, because his art direction and his way of, through words, either written or spoken, to portray the potential of visuals. It's amazing art director, like amazing. The type of art director that will tell you like, look, maybe it will be cool if you can incorporate a pyramid. I don't know how. He will tell you that. You know how he approaches? It will be cool. You'll figure it out. And maybe a dragon, but more like a sphinx dragon, and maybe 2 garters at the front or in the back. That would be like my idea so far, but just make me fall in love with your idea of what I just mentioned. Not many people do that. I mean, I've worked with bands, which is another way of doing it, and it could turn out pretty cool or not. I get like this like infinite emails, like, and I don't know if I mentioned that the cape of the 30th guard, that one has to be a little bit more jello. And I don't know if I mentioned that the third sword on the 4th guard, that one is the one that has to be curved, which is okay. I mean, I can be picky. That's the other way around. And
it's the name of the game, I guess, but man, not much fun, eh?
Look, I talk about this with my students, and I tell them like, look, just read the brief, read the idea, and two things can happen, or three. You don't like it, and you just get back and like, dude, that's what you want, and no one's gonna change your mind. I'm not the guy. I'm not the guy for this job. Or you love the concept. You're halfway reading and you already want to do that cover. You're like, shit, man, this guy's vision. I want to paint this. Or you negotiate. That's the other third option.
There's a whole process
But
to how you make a decision on like like the art direction on it. Like you said, some people are more involved, some people are more hands off, but it's nice to know that Hansi's in the top tier. It obviously shows, right? Because the artwork that has been years is there's nothing like it.
And they all get together and talked about, I mean, the art of an album or the merchandise is just another element in the production, as important as composing, as having a good recording, a good mix and master. They see every step of the production as important as any other. And I know Andre, all of the guys, Andre, I know that Andre has a lot of input on the visuals, but the other cool thing is that Andre lets Hansi be the one that does the art direction. Yeah.
There's an insane amount of trust among those guys. That's cool to hear that the band, we aren't hearing about it, and we know it because we're fans. That we hear that, and you meet the band and they're nice guys, but you hear horror stories about other bands that are just at each other's throats all the time, and they can't get anything done because everyone's got differing opinions, right? And I'm sure, I'd imagine with 100+ pieces of art, you ran into that yourself.
No, yeah, and you learn from it, and like any other production, visual production or printed production, you learn how to establish the rules in the beginning and how to communicate. And if I'm talking with a new band, from time to time, I would like to think that I would make clear the basics that you've already learned from other experiences. Like, it's you and me, buddy. I don't care if you're the singer, the bass player, but you reached me. So you talk with your other musicians, and you come back to me. But I don't want to get emails from each one of you like saying like, hey, my older sister's ex-boyfriend looked at your update and he thought that maybe the armor could be like, what? So just one guy, one art direction. You can do your meetings, you can fight over there, just get back to me and tell me what you need. That's it.
The cut and dry, right? So going back to the reissues here, I got a question. While we're on the topic of like your creative process and all that, one of the art pieces that I love off the remasters, especially that you did, is the Tales from the Twilight World. It appears on the inner gatefold and on the back, and there's just so much going on in that scene. Was there a story that goes along with that? I mean, we've got the Guardian in the center, but there's so much going on.
Yeah, so okay, one of the things about the tribute artworks was I could take two approaches. Like, keep it close to a fair amount of elements from the original artworks, or not that close, and think about a situation when a movie franchise gets relaunched and gets a new director, a new production team, a new set of artists. You know that world, you've been there before, but this is 20 years later, and now it's a second chance and a new chance to visually tell the story that you already know. It took me a couple of days or weeks to figure that out, because the artworks are in some ways diverse, and then Marshall comes in, and then there's like a pattern in terms of elements, types of characters, how he tells the stories, how he shows the spaces, the worlds. So it took me a few weeks to figure out like how as a fan, how close would I like to be with these artworks. So with the first two albums, with Battalions and Follow the Blind, it was easier because it's not that I don't like those covers, but the level of innocence in terms of art is high. I mean, you look at them and it's like, okay, but back then in the 80s, they were cool. similar to many of the heavy or power metal album covers that you will get to see. And then along comes Andreas Marshall and is like, whoa, what's this? Dude, they changed their cover artist, right? Yeah, they did. So I think I started with battalions actually. And the way I reached battalions, can I share my screen with you
I
and
would
show you some
love
stuff?
that. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So I went back to the music and I went back to the lyrics and I tried to reach back then a couple of interviews. And from the very start of the band, it was clear that they were geeks for role playing games and board games, right?
Right.
Have you heard the story that the Blind Guardian name came about because of one character on a role playing game or something like that? Have you
I've heard
heard about that?
two different ones. I heard one of it came from Stephen King, and then I've heard
Mm-hmm.
one where it came from, like, I know the Lucifer Heritage. Somebody said, it's actually, I think it was Hans Peter Fry, said to me that it came from Merciful Fate, but he wasn't sure where the Blind
Mm,
Guardian came from.
okay. So I'm sharing my screen, right? Yeah.
Yes, you betcha. I can see it right there. That's the Battalions album cover.
Right. So if you get to see the original artwork, there's like two guardians, two dudes playing a sort of chessboard with some little dudes or figures, and on the back there's like a snake, and they're like playing a game,
Right.
right? So basically, I don't know if you noticed this, but there's some role-playing dice on the sides. Have you ever played Dungeons and Dragons?
Oh, I play it every Saturday, my friend.
You see this over here, this dice, and
Yeah.
this over here.
A
So
D10
basically,
and
what we're looking at is a play, like this is a representation of a fictional role-playing game.
I
A
can't believe I never
situation,
noticed that.
a situation where the dark forces have a pet dragon, and the light forces have a pet dragon, and they are about to fight.
Wow.
There's
I
some
can't believe I never
secrets on.
noticed it before.
There are some secrets on this art. Let me show you another one. Let me zoom in into this. Oh, this fucker's gonna open it on Photoshop. I don't want it on Photoshop. No. Let's open this. Okay. I got it. Yeah, I got it here. Uh, have you located the Blind Guardian on this artwork?
In this one?
Yeah.
Actually,
Here it is.
I never, always, I see him now. I never saw him on the.
He's sort of directing the elf army, the light army.
Oh, just like the two Guardians, in that orange kind of purple gradient that are, like you said, playing the game, right?
Right.
Oh, my
Right.
goodness.
So these are the role-playing dice. That's not the only secret hidden on this artwork.
I was hoping you'd share some of this.
Right. So let me show you something that just two people came back to me like, dude, is this what I thought it is? So okay, so this is some of my process that it might be cool for. I posted this like on my media, but I can show it here. But this is, let me zoom into this. This is one of the elements of this cover on steps. I use this a lot for my classes. So this is the basic sketch. This is just me like the dragons. What should I do? And me looking at snakes and how they twist their necks before they attack and stuff like that. I would sometimes it would take me like whole afternoons of research, just going into videos, photographs, armor, creatures, attitudes, people fighting, samurais, and after all of that reference, now I have a clearer vision on my mind, right?
Right.
So this is probably a few minutes from here to here. I start polishing the lines, figuring out different tones, figuring out the anatomy, the perspective towards the anatomy, the attitude of the two creatures. Here I am polishing lines, but I am also adding texture. What differences would I like on the two dragons? Like this one is it's like a nastier type of dragon. A race breed on Mordor, maybe. This one's breed by elves.
Sleeker. It's a little more refined. I see that now.
Right.
See, I never noticed it before.
Like texture, different textures, separation, and then more detail, the attitudes of the creatures, how they are facing the other one. There's huge jumps here. Like from here to here, it could be like a whole afternoon of work to get here.
Really?
And then this is before color, and this is basically in terms of painting and composition, a point where I would say, yeah, I like it. It's ready for color. That's the way I work. Like I first compose everything black and white mostly, and then I jump into color.
Really?
So that's process, but there's some, you're gonna freak out with this. So Battalions of Fear is the first record, the first Blind Guardian record, right?
Right.
And when you play role like Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that, you have dices, you have little tokens, and you have cards, right?
Right. Yeah.
You can play with cards. So there's some Dungeons and Dragons cards here, and if you go into it, you'll notice that the visual card is the cover of the Lucifer Heritage
Battalions
demo.
Oh man, that is bizarre. I would have never known. You hit it right. You hit it so perfectly. Oh my goodness, you're seeing it here first, Bards. If you ever wondered what those playing cards were, wow, holy cow, that's incredible.
I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of this guy's. Like a huge fan. I've been trying to reach one of these original cassettes.
Do you know who the artist is for that? That I might actually be able to say.
I don't know who the artist is.
It was Andre.
This? Really?
Yes, Hans-Peter Frey told me, because I asked him the same questions when I interviewed him for the Battalions of Fear episode, my second episode, and he said to me, Andre did that on a computer. Isn't that crazy? I had no idea.
I didn't know that. I had no idea about that.
You have to bug him about that now.
little secrets in here. So Battalions was fairly easy because the innocence of the original artwork, I thought like, yeah, let's do a fucking tribute artwork. Like the 80s innocence, it's perfect for me to launch into this. And then again, also with Follow the Blind, which I have. Let me see what else I have about Battalions here. This is an unused. I know. I can show you this later, but this is
for
the
live,
artwork for the live. Yeah, this would be the type of update that I will send the band. Like that, this level of composition, this level of drawing.
Oh, okay.
Not finished at all. Sketchy. Like, look at this dudes over here, like super sketchy. But you can get the idea, right?
Right. Yeah, the feeling is still there, even if it's not fully fleshed out.
Yeah, this would be another type of update that I would send the band. Let me open this over here, where we would be talking. Hansi mentioned like a dragon for follow. We already have a dragon. As I finished the Battalion's artwork, I would start right ahead with follow, and I will send this update, this sketch.
So did you work them in chronological order then? Like you did, you started with Battalions and moved on to follow and all the way through.
Yeah. It was the most perfect fanboy trip ever.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
I would send this to Hansi. I was like, I mean, the sketch is cool, but another dragon, I don't know, for Battalions, it's already made and it's pretty cool. Maybe not a dragon. And yeah, this is like another halfway update for Follow the Blind. And then one thing that I had clear for Follow the Blind is to be super straight with the name, like freaking follow him.
Follow the Blind Guardian. Yeah.
Follow the dude. That's it. What are they following? At first it was going to be another dragon, and thank God Hansi stopped me. And then I thought, 4 guys in the band 4 orcs, a main orc conjuring a spell, and he liked the idea. And there's a couple of secrets on this one also.
Oh, I'm looking
So
forward to this.
if you zoom in, you get a lot of detail into this orcs. The one main thing about this concept is that this is my photo reference for the Blind Guardian. Right? So in many of my artworks, you can say that I am the Blind Guardian, I guess. In many of them, right?
That's
so this
cool.
is my photo reference, but also, and this is gonna freak you out, this Blind Guardian has, let me open this, 2 sets of eyes. He's blind, but he has 4 sets of eyes.
Oh my god. What?
So it's an antithesis of being blind. Can you see them?
I can totally see them too, right above those big ones that are there. I thought they were eyebrows at first, but now I can clearly see that they're 2 separate eyes on there. Wow. All those eyes, and he's still blind, hey?
Right. So that's the type of games that I like to do. And sometimes when I'm able to post after the CD comes out, I'm able to post some of the process of how I do this stuff. And if I have enough beers in me, I will make this a stupid thing. Can you read? Can you read this thing?
Yeah. Hey, Thomas. It's a Tupelo blind. I don't know Hans Peter, but I think.
And this is the first set of the Blind Guardian band. You know, Thomas. I think he was the drummer.
Yep.
And then Hans, and so it's them. It's the first Blind Guardians as orcs.
Fucking hell. Did you notice? Oh my gosh, man. You need to share these more often. They're golden.
Yeah, well, I have a Facebook page where I post them. So this is just me making fun, but this is also for the students of mine and the people that would like to see this kind of stuff, like how basic I go into starting like an idea. Like it's super basic, like the sketchiest composition ever. Like just figuring out anatomy and the story this guy is telling, how he's positioned, his body, how he's crawling. And if it works on this level, then I will start polishing and then figuring out tones and volume. And the jump from here to here is huge. Like this would be maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours just modeling, actually painting on top of the basic sketch.
It's bizarre to me, as a layman, right? Somebody who's not, I'm creepy. I just caught that at the end there. It's crazy to me as a layman seeing the amount of like how bare bones it is in the beginning, because you always assume that starts off a lot more in depth, right? But it's crazy to think it starts from just armor. I guess what is that? That's is that an armature, or is that a stickman, or what do you call it exactly?
Yeah, it's I mean, you can go different ways. If I'm not on the best day and I'm not confident about the anatomy, the drawing anatomy that I have, I will take a picture and that's it. I'll take a picture and just go to a reference. There's many tools. I mean, on my iPad, I have a little software called 3D Anatomy Poser that gives you like a full-fleshed gray tone human body. You can choose male or female, and it has pivots, and you can create the pose, and then you can locate the camera and just take a screenshot, and there you go. You have your anatomy there.
Wow.
There's just like all the tools that you can imagine right now. And the same for over the last 2 or 3 years, I really got into 3D modeling, and I will model the spaces. It takes me much less time, and I will model a basic maquette, 3D maquette of what I would want: 2 towers here, a bridge here, a portal here. I have the model, super basic, and then I choose the camera, and I want it like from the ground up, ultra dramatic. This angle I like, print screen, and I can paint on top of it. And that's it.
Wow.
It is work, but it's easier work.
Still, though, I mean, there's a lot of hours.
It's just tools. It's tools. this is finally what I thought about imaginations, which, as I was telling you, like I, at that point I freaked out. I was like, oh shit, here comes imaginations. I knew it was gonna happen. This day was gonna come. Run, run and hide, and because it's probably your favorite album cover, or one. It's on your top three. Maybe my top three would be my T-shirt right now. Somewhere in time,
Somewhere,
Iron Maiden.
yeah, Maiden, right? Yeah, the wasted years. Yeah.
Then probably Better Than Raw, Halloween, the witch.
Oh, that's the witch, right? Who's
Yeah,
over the
with the
cauldron? Yeah. Okay.
yeah, and Imaginations. That's it. That's it for me. Anyway,
Incredible homage, though.
so I came into Imaginations, listened to the record for the 1,000th time in my life, with a different perspective, with a different mindset. Like, what the fuck am I gonna do? What the fuck am I gonna do? What the fuck am I gonna do? Went to the interviews, went to everything, and I was like, okay, you love the character of the Sandman. Forget the epicness of the mirror images of the two sides. Just do something cool with the Sandman. So here he is with the creatures and toys from the kids' room on the back cover, with the magic lute. You know, the one of the cool things about that album is the that magic lute that he has, playing it and just bringing together towards the sound of his lute the toys. How did I come up with this? I don't know, but when it happened, when I finally had the idea on my mind about this tribute artwork, I was relieved. I was like, man, I can do something in that universe, in that world, that it's gonna make me happy.
Can I ask you, Felipe, up at the top there, is that statue on the other side of the mirror, is it Arthur?
Yeah, that's Excalibur.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, because Arthur's pointing down at Excalibur through the mirror, hey? Or is that,
Uh-huh.
oh my
Ah,
goodness.
this, yeah. That's King Arthur, and this is Excalibur.
Incredible, man. Absolutely.
And
It's
see,
weird,
this one
because you
has,
look at it all the time, but you
yeah,
never really, like, even on my LPs, which are about that big, you never, you always find something new. You know, it's
yeah,
incredible.
yeah. So these are some process steps on some of the characters that are heading towards the Sandman, the Chester, and some of them actually appear on the original artwork. If you go into, on the back cover, there is a mirror where you actually see the Blind Guardian and other elements, and you will see the Chester and other creatures there.
Right. I think because it's like a crib, right? Or maybe that's the single for Bright Eyes. Yeah, but
Yeah,
I
no,
recognize the
and
jester in the bed, right? Or in the crib is all creepy
yeah,
looking. Yeah.
no, and the other cool thing is that when back in 2012 and 2013, when I had the chance to work on the Memories of a Time to Come and A Traveler's Guide to Space and Time. I got access through the band's files to a bunch of stuff, like old pictures that you will only see on the booklet to A Traveler's Guide and to Memories of a Time to Come. Pictures taken by their moms and their sisters and their brothers when they were kids that you would never see before. And also Hansi he knows how to archive the stuff. Hansi has high definition um, backups of all the covers, free of logos and titles. So he would send me those, and I mean I have on my backup also from time to time. We would use it depending on the project that they have. I can go like into the details of any other of their previous album artworks. It helped me to learn to archive the new stuff I made, even though it's digital. It helped me to understand the level of resolution and detail that a Blind Guardian album cover needs. When we did those, especially when we went into a travel's guide, those records, when you open that box, they are the same, but to differentiate them, you know that they have a little like ornamented frame surrounding the covers.
Yeah, with like a that same around Imaginations, isn't that head at the top, that wood grain? Is that from there?
Right. Yeah, yeah. All of those elements have to be layered. You have to be able, as a graphic designer, to move them around. But the cool thing is that I had access to all of the visual files of the band as high resolution files. So I as I went, the first thing I did was open the Imaginations artworks, of course, and I just zoomed in. And Andreas Marshall is really obsessive with his details, which is awesome. So I discovered a bunch of stuff, and so yeah, these are some of the characters on steps. This is just him, the Sandman separated from the background.
Wow.
Before colors.
So that was the origin of the piece, before like any of the colors or anything. That's the Sandman was the primary focus.
Yeah, and probably this is a separate satellite file. When I'm working on fairly complex characters, I will create satellite files just for that character, and once it's done on the satellite file, I will bring him back to the main file as a single layer. It helps me organize my mind, and sometimes I think it doesn't make a little bit slow my computer. So this is him before colors. I had to repaint and remodel the loot, the magic loot, like the Imaginations loot. I think I have that file somewhere. Let me check. Maybe it's right at the end of this. I have so many files for you to see, dude. I mean, it's ridiculous. We haven't even got into Red Mirror stuff.
Oh, and yeah, I'm so sorry. You have all this exciting stuff that
dude,
you don't think about.
This is last night I was talking to my wife, and she was like, "Oh man, do you have enough beer? Are we gonna have dinner tomorrow? How long is this guy? Do you know what you got into? You never stop talking. Oh shit, who's this dude? What's the podcast? Is this for real?" And she was making fun of me.
You didn't show her that the last episode was 2 hours, did you?
No. So at some point, I knew that eventually, regarding best of albums and stuff like that, it would be wise to have a repainting on my style of the magic guitar or lute or bass. I like to think it's a bass. So basically, my point of reference, and the only point of reference you would get, is these two paintings from Andreas Marshall. So basically, I repainted this. I became comfortable with it. I recognized his proportions, his elements, his parts, made it look fairly recognizable, that any fan would see my version and say, "Dude, it's Blind Guardian Magic Bass." And then I was like, okay, I can incorporate this guy into new designs that might come up. And that definitely was a key element for the moment when I had to make the tribute artwork for Imaginations.
Is Imaginations your favorite of what you did for the tribute art? Or is there one that you're even more proud of than this one?
Battalions. I love Battalions. I love all of them. And we're heading to the question that you asked an hour ago. Sorry about that, but we're heading there.
No, I don't even know the time. I hope that you're all right with it.
Oh, dude, I'm on over here. I don't know. Are you guys on spring break, or what happens this week over there? Because over here it's like a small Catholic vacation we have.
Yeah, I think mostly for them. Unfortunately, I'm out of college now, so the free ride's over. I'm
Right. But for me it's perfect. I mean, I love this thing we're doing. I really love it. So don't worry.
So happy you agreed, my friend. I had no idea the layers. I mean, I knew I was going to find out some stuff, but I had no idea that I'd get to see the concepts for lots of this stuff too. And it's interesting to see your process for it, because it really does. When you say let's say that soldier over there, that it starts, at that kind of basic level, but the work between those two is hours and hours and hours, maybe a whole afternoon. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, and the thing is, when the basic concept gets approved and things work out, it's dangerous, because you can spend hours and hours on Photoshop and on these displays. This is a drawing display by a pretty popular brand called Wacom. A few years ago, they were like super expensive. I was able to get one by an endorsement, just as guitars and drum companies endorse musicians. Softwares and tablets and pen displays will endorse artists. So I have an endorsement with Wacom for Latin America with this company of this display, the one that I showed on the video, and it's amazing, dude. I mean, you can draw anything you want on this thing, and it's super smooth. It recognizes the weight of your line drawing. It's amazing. It's just it's the best invention after the wheel and the hamburger. This is the third one.
The hamburger's up there too, yeah.
No, the fourth one. The beer, the wheel, the hamburger, and the pen displays. This guy's I don't know what you think about that.
I mean, it's pretty accurate to mine too. I mean, I didn't know of the pen display till now, so I would have put music in there too. Some Blind Guardian in there too. But I mean,
right? Yeah.
The fact that this created some covers has to weigh something in there.
So once, just like, I guess, creating anything else, like a song, when you're demoing a song, and even as a demo, you have that feeling like, oh man, this is gonna be a good song. The same with an illustration. You're like, yeah, I got it. The sketch is working, so it's gonna flow, and then you can spend hours on it, and then you're gonna step out of your chair, and your back and your eyes are gonna be like, give me a freaking break, dude. It's been hours. So in regards to that, I have I mean, over what we're doing now, I'm not working on something, so my attention is not the same, and I can move and I can relocate and everything. But when I'm on working mode,
yeah,
I will have half an hour alarms that are the law. Yeah, I will leave the chair, walk around, take our husky to the park, stretch. I had to, because at some point a few years ago I didn't, and my back came back with the bill, and it wasn't a sweet bill. It was like, dude, you're passing your 30s, like, do something about your work schedules and stuff. And it was a good alarm at a fair moment. And then I started studying about that stuff, like ergonomics and what chair to use, chair reviews, all that kind of stuff.
Half an hour breaks are the secret, eh? I mean, I might apply that too. Sometimes you work on something for hours and hours and hours, and you don't stop to take the break, right? But it's just as true in art as it is in anything else, I suppose.
Right. So yeah, this is some process for it. This is what happened finally with Life, one of the last artworks, tribute artworks I made. This is a little zoom in with the tavern, the bards tavern in the back, and there's this orcs and elves playing, and this elf appears on the martial artwork. He's coming back to it. He left his wallet the night before, and he came back, and the party was still going on.
I like that. So is that, and this is, yeah, because that should, on Live there is him in the Dorf, does he make an appearance on the Imaginations Through the Looking Glass DVD as well? Is he with the dwarf? Or I guess that might be Legolas and Gimli, actually. Maybe. Man.
Maybe. Oh, dude, I forgot about that artwork. That's a pretty awesome artwork made by I'm pretty sure it's a Russian artist that worked also with Eyster. I have to check it out.
Yeah, I actually haven't. It's been a while since I got it around here somewhere, but it's been a while since I've actually looked at it. Probably not since the last.
A really nice production, right, on that live album.
Oh yeah, yeah. Musically, as far as live, like I'm not a big concert DVD guy, but it changed my opinion for sure.
So this is some steps that I would save, different moments of the sketching and modeling of the painting of the different characters, and some of them could be a whole afternoon or at least a few hours of me figuring out the anatomy.
When you're making the anatomy of these guys, like say the crowd of people I see on the right there, you've got the goblins on the left, and then on the right there's that sort of grayed out one. Do you already know they're going to be goblins, or do you kind of like cycle through? You're like, oh, okay, what do I want for a fantasy creature here, or is it like you already know?
That's a good question. It normally gets dictated by dark voices in my head.
The voice in the dark.
Yeah. Shit, what a offense. Look, probably in this particular case, I thought they were gonna be elves in the beginning, and they mutated into orcish, more orcish. So it can shift, and sometimes this is what I'm about to explain. I try to explain to my students, and when I do, they look at me like, "You're nuts. You have a problem." So basically, my way of sketching, if I sketch at all. Are you there, dude? Are you
I'm there, man. I'm listening with all ears wide open.
No. you got lost for a second. I was only looking at the
sorry, I was looking at the art. I totally sorry.
So what would happen with Blind Guardian or any other band that send me like a little information, and we figure out that we're gonna work together and how it's gonna happen and how much I'm gonna charge, and they agree and blah 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 blah, and I'm like ready to do the cover. And I had some directions from the band, not as obsessive and as specific as the example I did an hour ago, but a general idea. I would go out to the park, walk my husky, breathe the air. We live here in Bogota on a pretty cool area with parks and it's a nice neighborhood. And I would walk around, and I would just compose the artwork in my mind, and would talk to myself and think like, you're gonna put the camera here, and on the back you're gonna be able to see this, and the main character is gonna be here, but it's gonna be doing this, and I do a mental, imaginary, if you will, composition in my mind, and then I just start painting. And yes, a basic sketch happens. Like a basic sketch following the mental sketch will happen. But at that point, most of the art, it's already manifested in my mind. Does that sound weird?
No, that actually weirdly makes perfect sense. You kind of wonder because, if I tried to do what you're doing, it does not come out how I see it in my head. But when you have like a full picture of everything, and it's all thanks to actually planning it out in your mind ahead of time. I think that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's one of my very favorites off your remasters as well. The Balrogs and Melkor down at the bottom.
Yeah.
Very
nice art. Any Tolkien related stuff is. So yeah, this is one of the many awesome reimaginings of the Tolkien mythos on that amazing masterpiece, which is the Nightfall in Middle Earth album, is the very beginning. This one was hard in terms of I have so many options. I have so many options in terms of choosing one to depict the immensity, which is those wars and that part of the Tolkien mythos, of the Middle Earth mythos. But the first time you listen to that record and you listen to these two characters with those voices and the back and the sound of the walking on the floor, that gives you the immensity of the holes on the dark fortress, the time that this first dude takes to walk and then enter, and then you realize is Sauron talking to Morgoth, and you're like, oh fuck, it's them, and then Morgoth is like super angry, and he's like, I give up, fuck this shit. Really, I mean, he doesn't say it, but if you read the book, it's like, release the fucking Balrogs, motherfucker. It's like,
An army,
dude, I mean,
an army of Balrogs.
yeah, if you're gonna talk about audio cinematics free of a visual media, you have to talk about that record. I mean, the way you get submerged into the storyline just because of the amount of audio production, apart from the songs that record has, especially the intro, you go into Middle Earth in a few seconds. It's like, damn it. So I thought about options when we went to work on a traveler's guide. I went into Nightfall for the first time, and I think my option back then was Morgoth and Ungoliath about to destroy the two trees.
Oh, when he rips the sap of the life tree. Yeah.
Right. So I thought I already did that. So let's not go back then. And every time I went back to that record, I was like, man, the intro is so fucking good. It's so good. These two dudes saying goodbye. The worst dudes in Middle Earth just saying goodbye. And the worst of all, telling the other one, like, you were a good friend. I was like, man, I gotta do something with this. So basically, this is the two of them. This is Morgoth and Sauron.
So is Morgoth I've wanted to add, I'm glad you brought it up because I wanted to ask you, judging by his apparel, the tall one appears to me to be Morgoth because, like you said, in the special edition of Nightfall, that's the same character. Yeah.
Oh. And some ultra geek kid pointed to me like, hey, in that portion of the story, he doesn't have the Silmarillion's on his. I was like, I don't fucking care.
Come on. I mean, the guy's obsessed with them. You're telling me he didn't put fake ones on top of his crap? Get out of here. You know what I mean? The guy spends his whole life pursuing it.
I'm not sure about this kid's knowledge of Tolkien's timeline, but I mean, how many times you get to paint these two dudes?
I mean,
right?
Look at those chompers on Sauron. I mean, he's got a hell of a dentist bill coming his way.
I know, and that's my version of Sauron. He was portrayed as a pretty good looking guy, but I thought, nah, this is a sinister moment. This is dark. I don't care. Very little art direction from Hans's part here. He saw the first sketch and he was like, man, fuck it, do it.
Yes, really?
Yeah, he was like, I love it. I fucking love it. Just go for it.
So Felipe, because you had already done the special edition of Nightfall Middle Earth, and that's Traveler's Guide, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
So were you intimidated to redo like another cover for Nightfall or a tribute art or whatever? Because that one turned out so well. I mean, the colors are nice. It's a beautiful cinematic scene. Like, that's a tough act to follow.
I thought for a second about it, but any Tolkien related illustration, I've been fortunate enough this year to create 2 new Tolkien related artworks for 2 different bands. An awesome big ensemble from Italy called Ainur, and you can see it on my webpage and on Facebook. It's basically the moment when Fëanor sets aflame all the ships once he reaches the port where I mean, he's already at a point in the story where he's turning crazy. He doesn't know what to do, and the last thing he does is set aflame
And
all of the
strand
ships.
everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. and then the band that I showed you last night, these guys from Venezuela, Ivory Tower, Torre de Marfil, with this amazing moment where the Knights of Rohan are about to kick asses of the Saruman and Sauron forces. How many times can you say in one single year you get to go to Middle Earth as an artist with such epic moments?
I mean, I'm not an artist. I couldn't tell you, but I will say that I love it, when somebody, that, knows what they're doing, like yourself, really comes to it and shows all those moments, because all I have for reference is, especially with the Silmarillion, there's no visual media to it, right? It's just the book that you got for reference. So it's cool to see it played out.
There is a version of it illustrated by, I think it's Ted Nashmid, which is an amazing artist. That the thing with the Silmarillion is that every page has so much information that going through a published edition with one illustration per chapter, I'm guessing for an art director and illustrator has to be really tough. Like, dude, what do we do with this chapter? I mean, let's go to the beginning again, because the world has changed again, and then on the next chapter the world changed again. So I think we have a copy here at home of that version of the illustrated Silmarillion, one artwork per chapter, and it's tough. I mean, what to choose, because so much information just in one single chapter is just ridiculous. But it's always fun. I mean, anytime that a band will reach me and say, hey, we want a Tolkien related artwork, it's like let's do it. Yeah, let's do it. And this was the same. It was just a new opportunity for it. I'm going to show you something that no one has ever seen before apart from Hansi and myself.
What?
This is an unused halfway cover for Night at the Opera.
Oh my gosh.
So my first idea for Night at the Opera was this alley with elves and orcs, and basically the Sandman and the Blind Guardian are playing a puppet show, but the Blind Guardian is playing the Sandman, and the Sandman is playing the Blind Guardian. And this was an idea for a tribute artwork for A Night at the Opera.
Oh my gosh, man. I was gonna ask if all your main artwork got used, but man, to be so fleshed out at that stage. It's such a beautiful cover.
Here, and I mean, as far as it got, I mean, Hansi didn't say I hate it. No, he was like, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to play with the immensity of the concept of opera. I know what you're trying to do, and I think it's cool. I think it's cool that you want to go from opera to puppet show. He got it. I mean, he got it, but he was like, let's try something else. Really, it's not often having his art direction that something like this happens. And we talked about it fairly. He's like, dude, it's pretty cool to work with you because you listen and then somehow you take your dog to the park and you come back with an awesome idea and it works. He wasn't against the composition. He wasn't against the idea. He thought, like, show me something else. And I thought, okay, let's negotiate here. But I'm going to negotiate with a new image, not with words. I breathed and I was like, okay, it's going to be a long night, but let's stick to the idea of the puppets, but maintain the idea of the opera. And basically what ended up happening with this, oh shit, okay, I'm back, is that I kept the puppets, but now this time they are huge.
Giant golems almost, yeah.
They are huge. And let me open this to be able to do some zoom ins. And you have no idea who's pulling the strings. You don't get to see the puppeteer somewhere up there. Or it's just magic. Is the Blind Guardian the puppeteer?
See, when I saw it, I thought he was, because he's got his hand up kind of like that. It never even occurred to me. We don't see who's pulling the strings.
So this was a long night because I was really fighting for option A. But halfway into the night, when this guy started taking shape, I was like, oh no, man! Thank God, Hansi, he was right. Somehow, he was right. This is better. And dude, I don't know what time I went. I didn't went to bed. I really wanted to surprise him with something, and I was scared. I was like, oh man, what if this is worst? And he took some time. He made me suffer. I was like, oh fuck, he hated it. Oh shit, he hated it. And then he came back and was like, this is my favorite one from all the ones you've done. This is my favorite one so far. I love this shit. I love it. I just love it. And I was like, really? And he was like, yeah, man, this is. So yeah, it's basically this knight, this puppet knight, about to fight this puppet, his huge puppet orcs. And the blind guardian is puppeteering probably, and also telling the story. And all of these orcs and elves and little dudes are like, "Yeah, tell the story, motherfucker."
Man, I'd like to see a reissue. I mean, like down the road. I mean, obviously, it's hard because that cover is so iconic. But I mean,
Oh,
it
is.
wouldn't be out of place to see an alternate cover with an inner gatefold of that other art you were showing me too, because it's so clever.
Yeah,
You got the
probably something.
contrast, big and
Yeah,
small, right?
something that's eventually going to start happening that I think is cool if it's done well is the 20-year anniversary of all of the stuff, like the 20-year anniversary of, or the 30th and 30th or 30th anniversary
30th, yeah.
of battalions, or follow the line of, and reissued. I didn't understand why there is right now an anniversary edition of Imaginations. I go to the release date and I don't know. Did you figure out? I mean, I celebrate my favorite album. I
Yeah.
bought a copy of it, but why did it came out last year or this year? I didn't fully understand.
I don't really know exactly, but I think part of it might have been maybe they were trying to get. Well, no, because they did the Somewhere Far Beyond. They were on the Somewhere Far Beyond tour, right? So I was kind of wondering, like, now that you mention it, like I was thinking, oh, maybe it's just because they're waiting for another recording or something. But the tour was Somewhere Far Beyond that they were working on that got shut down. Maybe for the
And
sake
and I
of
and,
putting out.
and yeah, yeah. I don't know. Someday I'm gonna ask them. And I mean, the new edition is gorgeous and amazing
Yeah,
and
what did you
really well
think
put
as a
together.
fan? Like a live version front to back. What did you think?
Oh, I think it's awesome. I mean, Imaginations version, like the new release.
Oh yeah, the Imaginations. The Imaginations, like the live one, the White Album, the Japanese
Oh
cover.
man, dude. I mean, I love it. Look, I also putting together the stuff for today's talk. I remembered that in 2016, this guy's Blind Guardian made uh, a tour celebrating again Imaginations, where they would play the entire record. Were you able to see any of those shows?
Unfortunately, not. None of it came down here, regrettably.
Dude, I cut them. I cut them on LA. So we met. We got together. We talked. We had a couple of years. Awesome, awesome. The last time I saw them live, that was 2016 in LA. I have close friends in California, so I hang out there, and I saw the dates, and I can't believe it. I'm gonna see them again, and they're gonna be playing the entirety of my favorite Blind Guardian album. Fuck yeah! So I went there. We were talking about before the show, and I asked Hansi, do you play the entire album? And he was like, yeah, we play. Have you noticed that it's 40 something minutes? The album. It's not that hard to put it together inside a show. We're gonna play, of course, bar song and other stuff that if we don't play, we get our heads cut. But yeah, we're gonna play the entirety of the album. It's your favorite album, right? You've mentioned it a couple of times. I was like, yeah, I love it. Like, yeah, well, tonight's your night, dude. They start the show, right? And I'm already like half drunk with my friend from LA. And I'm like, fuck yeah. They play like the first three songs. And then Hansi stops and is like, look, guys, we're gonna play an entire record. We normally don't do this. Probably first time we've done it on a tour. Very loved by all of you, but especially loved by a friend of ours that it's right here. amongst you?
No.
I was like, is this shit happening? Is this shit happening? And he was like, yeah, there's this guy that takes care of our artworks, and we work with him. He's actually from Colombia, where he is visiting. His name is Felipe. He's over there. And I was like, is this shit happening? So we're going to play his favorite album. Please enjoy Imaginations from the Other Side. I've, I've had cool moments in my life in that night.
That's the one, hey? Oh my gosh, man. I can't even imagine. And it's your favorite
Dude.
record too, and front to back.
No, man. When they play another Holy War, I went into the mosh. Dude, I was like, and then we saw the guys again afterwards, and I was like, Hansi, dude, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. I mean, this is gonna stick in my head up until I die, and it's really special, dude. Thank you, because from time to time, but not that often, and I don't expect of it. I really don't expect of it. Sometimes when I see a band that I work for live, really rarely someone will mention, like, by the way, the guy that did this backdrop standing in the back is over there. Thank you, dude. We love you. I don't expect it. And in general, I would feel like awful. Like, oh shit, yeah, it's me. Now everybody's looking at me. I wouldn't like it. But for that special occasion, it was a small show. And what a perfect night. And Hansi is just a magician with his words. He pulled it up, and it was like, it made me cry. It actually made me cry. I was like, shit, I bought this record 20 years ago. I was a fucking kid. I had to wait 2 months to get it. And it impacted my life so deeply that, yeah, this is my night. This is for me right now. Let's just enjoy it with all of the audience up there, and just make a pretty awesome memory out of it.
Well, you know what, man? It may stick with you until the end. But now you've publicly said it on, camera. It's going to stick with the podcast to the end. So as long as YouTube and Anchor and all that stuff are around, this will be chronicled. The world will know.
That's awesome. That's awesome because just a few people know about that night. My friends in LA that were there. Eric from an amazing band called Hellsut, that I've worked with them many times, and amazing. How should we call them? Melodic dead power biking American metal. That's probably what they sound to.
That's
amazing. Hellsut. He was there. My friend Jennifer, that Colombian, that the friend of mine since we started the band here, and then a couple of other friends, a small group. But yeah, the amazing night, and really special moment. And what were we talking about? Blind Guardian.
Oh yeah, yeah.
A night.
Right, we got distracted on imagination, but yeah, I think we were starting on the concepts you mentioned, with all this and kind of the transition, how it turned from one idea that, by the way, thank you for showing that art, that none of us have ever seen, into something so much more.
I mean, all of this stuff I publish on my media, and you can find it out there. Like most of these step by steps, and once an album is released, I mean, the artwork is out, and in general, the band will say, like, by the way, this artwork is made by this artist. And over the last years, showing a little bit of the process for the art community, especially, it's really important. Like sharing. Like when I teach Photoshop and digital illustration, I will never fear that eventually anyone would try to steal my art, because it's basically impossible. It's basically impossible. I can show you the Photoshop tricks, but how I think an image, and how I create it, and how I figure out composition, anatomy, design, my design taste, all of the elements that go into putting together the artwork, that's just DNA. You cannot replicate it. It's just DNA that each artist has. And that's why I don't have a problem with sharing, because, and this, I mean, I learned this from someone else. So it's in terms of process, of academic process, It's not entirely mine. How I use it and how I express myself through this process of first line, then tones, then modeling, then texture. That's another thing. The one that's impossible to replicate is my story, and my story dictates how I paint, basically. So, so I.
That's incredible, man. And it's the you've got such a wide array in your style, you know. And I obviously too, like Blind Guardian saw that because they relied on you for so many different concepts, not even just the reissues, but just like tons of album. Like if you look at a At the Edge of Time, like the Inner Gatefolds, I just did a review of it not that long ago, or an unboxing. Wasn't really a review, but I just did an unboxing of it and going through the amount of like each song has a piece of art dedicated to it. The back cover
Yeah,
is
yeah. I'm
wonderfully.
guessing. Look. I have this idea. I'm really enjoying this thing, and everybody told me you were an awful guy, but now I know you're a pretty cool guy. So no, I'm just kidding.
Frederick was probably worried. He's like, "Well, watch this guy."
May I propose the week? I mean, I can go ahead more time today, but may I propose a second meeting in a few days' time?
Absolutely.
Just to talk about the art of Red Mirror.
Of course, and that's honestly it. And At the Edge of Time, I imagined would probably be a lot, but I had no idea the reissues would have so much extra material.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We started today about the reissues and the tribute artworks, but I have no problem of meeting again with you and just doing the same thing, but for the talk about Red Mirror and yeah.
Now we got to get. The only thing is, I promised your game, right? So I'm waiting to hear the skill testing question, but I need to see your face to know if you're bullshitting me or not.
No. Well, let me switch my camera. So, okay. So we can do that right now and come back to the 3 artworks that
there's. Oh yes, yeah. Because we're okay. I thought you were saying we'd pick up the reissues as well, but
no.
Oh wait,
no.
was that okay? I won't even go there. But that's totally yeah. Okay, I'm excited. Okay,
yeah, let's finish this part, and you're not going to be able to answer anyway. So
I got one you might not be able to answer. I don't know. I know you scoff because it's I can tell you know it all, but
oh shit. Somewhere Far Beyond, amazing album cover. I mean, the story. Marshall's, not mine. Marshall's original. The story inside that artwork that he created is just like that group of bards. It started the bard mythos for Blind Guardian. That group of dudes just playing and telling stories, and they're about to be hijacked by orcs. It's just like what? They're having like the best time on the darkest corner of the darkest forest. Did you ever notice that on the artwork? It's like, why are they so chill, dude? It's like they're super chill and they're in the middle of the creepiest forest ever. What?
People are looking around trees at them, and there's just it's you can tell it's cold. There's all hell there, or the fog rolling in, but they're having a good time.
Yeah. So my idea is like they came alive out of the Marshall cover. And a year after, they thought, oh man, was that an adventure? We almost got killed, right? Why don't we go back to that same place and just play this music again? And the other thing about that artwork, which is amazing, and it's one of the great things that you can get on a Marshall artwork, is that machine that they are all facing. What is it? Is it a portal? Conjurer? Is it a time machine? What is it, dude? And it's pretty amazing. I mean, it's one of those covers that in terms of storyline leaves a lot of open doors, which is
I've always wondered the meaning behind it too. Yeah, there's so much going on in it.
And Hansi has no idea about it. I think I asked him once and he was like, what? I don't know. Time. Maybe time travel. And I was like, but I was like, wait a minute. Is the music they are playing activating this machine? And I was like, now that you say it, yes, that's what's going on. I was like, you had no idea, right? But,
Oh
and the
man.
other cool thing about this artwork is the blank. For many months, I thought when I got this record that it was free of a guardian, but here he is. Just we see his back. This is the blind.
I, I never put two and two together on that. I was like, huh, yeah, that is kind of the only one that you see without a guardian really on it, right? So, oh my
Yeah, but these
goodness.
guys, they are so chill, and these dudes all have knives, and they're about to kill them, and they're like, "Yeah, let's play that song again. It's pretty awesome."
But you know
I
what,
think
man?
it's
That white
amazing. It's an
glow
amazing.
is
Uh-huh.
aura, like an aura around them all too. Maybe it's protect. I mean, I'm looking probably
Also,
in the
yeah,
wrong
yeah,
spots. I'm not an
also,
artist, but
yeah. So on my tribute artwork, some of them come back in a way to that meeting, especially this guy. I love this character design. The bagpiper is just like, that's it. That's awesome. I don't
that's
know if
pretty.
it's well. Many of Blind Guardian songs are tributes to books and myths that they read to, right? So maybe we're joking here, and maybe some of these characters actually come from stories that influence the songs. I will have to ask Hansi sometime.
You
So
need
yeah,
to, yeah.
some of these dudes from the original artwork come back, uh, and the Blind Guardian is hitting on one of the hills right below the logo.
That's where he
There
is.
he is, late for the meeting.
Yeah.
He gets to see the orcs nearby. He's like, oh, these guys again. Why do they like to have beers on the darkest part of, of this forest? There he is heading, and yeah, this is probably the closest one to the concept of the original one, maybe.
I like how the goblins sort of have like this sort of incorporeal, like kind of spectral mist around them. You know what I mean? Like the colors you chose
Yeah,
just
yeah.
really punch, like quite
Thank you,
beautiful.
man.
Yeah, no, for real. I mean it.
This is again some of the process that I keep for classes and talks like the one we're having today.
Yeah.
How basic the idea starts, what happens with the first gray tones, how color starts to come around, how much detail do I put into them, little um, updates that I keep that I usually send the band. Another first idea. This was going to be the first idea, but then again, quite close to the original one, so we stopped there with that one in terms of space and composition.
That's incredible. That's
And
one that I've
here's
never seen.
this
This
is
one's
Tails.
unmistakable. Yeah, this is the one that honestly, when I first got the vinyls for it, like the remasters of it, I was like, what is going on here? Like, I'm so glad I get the opportunity to actually ask you, what the hell's going on here,
Yes,
Felipe?
I have no idea. No, probably I listened to the record again and I started making notes on my mind and figuring out the original artwork and how far apart from the original one I wanted to go with this one. And basically, one of the things I love about the original artwork is the cave, like the sense of this thing seems to be super underground. If anything wrong happens, there's no escape. It's like Moria, uh, and uh, and then again, there's light in it, and there's like all of these characters, and there's like a cauldron on the right, and of course, I think the Blind Guardian is reading, if I'm not wrong. Is he reading a book? Probably. He has a book, maybe in a sense.
You know what?
So
He's obviously using magic because he can't see it, right? So
right, so I kept that idea. He's and then I just went crazy. I mean, I would like to give you more story into why there's these three characters here that looks like deities, and why one is pointing a sword to him. This just now that I remember, some stuff just became organic here, like super organic. Like I think I started with the idea of the Guardian receiving or offering the magic book. And then I thought, to whom or to what? And from all the options that I considered at that point, maybe this character came about first. And then I thought, like, he looks super alone in there. Maybe he has a sister and a brother. And then apart from that, I thought, like, this is a big opportunity to just do something that I love to do in this character design. From all the stuff that goes into creating artworks, digital artwork, illustrations, either for comics or book covers or album covers, if there's one element that I adore, that it will keep me awake days and nights, is character design, creature design. And once I created one of these dudes, I was like, oh man, it's gonna be a long night. I know what's gonna happen, and I won't be able to stop. And let's just fill up this thing with little creatures, every one of them like either accompanying the blind guardian, like, yeah, take the book, or give the book, or like, no, don't give him the book, it's gonna turn into whatever is going on there. But yeah, probably one of the, if not the tribute artwork that has more work on it, probably. And you see, composition is pretty cool because the horizon line is not balanced on a 90-degree. It's a little to the side. And that gives him like, I mean, it's what Hitchcock did with most of his movies, like move the horizon line and you will feel dizziness, you will feel unease about the frame.
I totally get that. The use of colors too, like that. You always you were talking about in the beginning about that, how you do the cool versus hot colors, sort of thing. And you can tell where the cool. I love that the coolness emanates from the blind guardian in this case. You know what I mean? Like it's coming from that book and him.
Yeah, it is. But it's pretty. The storyline in here, it just unfolded. It became like super organic. And I don't have a specific story for this characters. They seem to have a sort of power over the whole situation, and again, a risk because what I showed Hansi on the very stages was fairly well developed. He easily could have told me, like, what did you smoke like last night? What is this? And he was like, there's so many characters in it, like, this is cool, yeah, go for it. I was like, yeah, you think it work? I was like, yeah, this one's cool. So yeah, I am remembering this was a lot of work hours just putting together each character, because every single one of them starts as loose as these sketches here. But it turned out really cool.
I think a
lot of people really like this artwork.
I mean, like I said in the beginning, for me, out of all the reissued artwork that came along with those reissues, that's one of my favorites for sure, man. There's just so much going on, and you really feel like a sense of urgency in the scene. It just brings the power of that album, because that's, the first three are, I know you'd agree, they're probably some of the heaviest as far as like, musically off the bat, very raw.
Yeah. And then I think the last thing I did at that point was figure out something for Tokyo Tales, which is hard because, I mean, amazing. This thing is opening on Photoshop, which is okay. Let me just close this, take out the guidelines, and zoom in. Amazing live album. Not the best recording, but for the time it was pretty cool. Not a interesting original album cover. It's like 4 pictures, I guess.
Felipe, because it actually reminds me, speaking of, you said you were a Judas Priest fan. It reminds me of that live Priest album. Yeah.
It goes. Yeah.
This artwork here, I just want to say, you must have played off of the previous art you had done for, was it Travelers, or was it Memories of a Time to Come?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Where the dragon meets in a circle. Yeah.
Wow, dude. I've done quite a few things for this guy. Sometimes I just don't remember, but it's been a ride. It's been the best ride ever. Yeah, it's like a continuation of, oh man, I never thought about that, but on the back of my mind, something happened. Like, dude, just continue what happened there, huh? Yeah, it's like a continuation of that circle and the circle of the dragon. This one at some point it was kind of hard. It was like, what can I do? I mean, it's so particular, the name. I mean, Tokyo, the town, Blind Guardian. We all know the huge love the Japanese fans have for heavy metal. What should I do? And at some point, after another walk with my dog, I came back and I was like, I think it has to have the Blind Guardian. And then there's this beautiful Japanese instrument that relates a little bit to the magical imaginations base. And what if the Blind Guardian just is having a trip in Japan
Oh my
with his
goodness.
Japanese dragon friend, and they are just playing some Blind Guardian stuff in
I
Japan,
always
and
thought that
that
was
was
the
it.
Imaginations loop. That's a Kodo. Is that right? No, no,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
it is
is.
Kodo. I never
Yeah,
realized. I thought it was the. I thought it was the
it's the
Imaginations.
no, it's the Blind Guardian figuring out like he's getting a lesson from the dragon. He's like, no, 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 you don't play it the same as the other instrument you have. You play this different. And he's like, damn it, I can't get the sound. I can't get the sound, dragon. And he's like, you'll learn it in time. Something like that.
I like it, man. I'm honestly, I'm never gonna look at this album cover the same again. None of these, actually, for the most part. Seeing like the roots of them, seeing the alternate concepts in some cases, like it was for Night at the Opera. Like it changes your opinion of it for sure, and how you saw it.
Yeah. I mean, it's the coolest artistic ride you can have as a fan of something. I mean, I cannot complain. I've had amazing jobs. Like right after I came out of studying visual arts, a year after that, I ended up working with Lucasfilms in San Francisco doing visual style guides for Revenge of the Sith. That was my very first job,
Oh, what?
which
Really?
was like, this is happening. Okay, let's do it. And I've worked with Lucasfilms for a couple of years, and it was the best start ever. And then I came back from that, and then I started reaching bands, and some of my friends were like, "Dude, why bands? Yeah, I mean," and after that I went back to do some more work for them on different moments. But as I mentioned in the beginning of this talk, it was organic for me. It was natural to think, let's make everything possible to find a way to make metal a lifestyle somehow. And that was just the. It's not that I thought about it. It just was the plan. And after it happened, and it started happening, and it started consolidating more, then I thought like somehow that was just like in my mind, and I just went for it. It's not that I have students that I have to understand, and I have great talks with them when they will tell me like, look, I know I like to draw, I know I like illustration, I know I like movies, I know I like it, but I don't know what I want to do. How did you figure out what you wanted to do? And I was like, oh man, I can tell you, but promise me you will never go think that my story will have to relate to your story, because it won't. Each person is a story, and and you have to let life surprise you. But here it goes. And then I tell them what I'm telling you. Like somehow all of this love I have for metal as a cultural movement, as a music expression, as a visual expression, created a mission in my mind, which was like, try as many times as is needed to figure out a way to make metal a lifestyle. Even though you live in a country pretty apart from the metal scene, from the metal industry, try it. And the first idea, the first dream was the band that I mentioned that I talked about in the beginning of this meeting. But then again, when it didn't happen, it was like, I like to draw. I'm learning how to draw. I'm attending art because I tried to study music in the first time, but the music faculty that I had access to was teaching jazz and classical music. And I was like, isn't there like a rock program for music? There is in some parts of the world, but back then that was not the option for the town I was in. And then the second option was like art, illustration in this case. And I was like super chill about it. It wasn't a matter of, oh, damn it, I won't be able to be a professional musician. I have to study illustration. No, it was like, illustration is as good as music.
It's a good trade-off. Hey,
yeah,
can
and
I
then
ask you, Felipe?
Yeah,
You're an educator many times over. Is any of that by chance? Like, really, you said your mother's an educator as well, right?
Yeah,
Was that
too?
That kind of led to that decision, or was that just another?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, their background being teachers, my parents definitely gave me like a window into what teaching meant to them, the love that they have for teaching. And yeah, certainly it from a very start, it gave me like a perspective into whenever my parents, especially my dad, talks about teaching, his eyes will glow. It's like probably the thing that he loves the most about his engineering. And he not only teaches, but he's definitely, I would say, the activity that he loves the most. And yeah, certainly, absolutely. And teaching, I mean, I can tell you that we have a semester structure here, 2 semesters a year. In general, it happens to me that at least once a year on one of my classes, a metal kit will come in. Maybe 2 in a year, but definitely once a year in one of my classes, there's a metalhead. And it's pretty cool. It's like on the third class, or fourth class, there will be like communication. We know each other. We figure out, and they would say like, "Hey, teacher, can I ask you a couple of questions about your work?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." How do you reach the bands? How do you end up working with these bands? And it's pretty cool when a metal kid comes around in class. It's pretty cool.
Man. Well, and obviously you got a hell of a story to share with them on it.
Yeah, wow. No, and but in terms of a teacher on illustration, I have to open my mind, and I half of the books that you see on my shelf, and more than half of them are related to all kinds of different illustration. Because as a teacher, I have to give the students options. And right at the end of a class, I will say, hey guys, would you like to know my top 10 favorite artists? And in general, they would say, fuck yeah. We thought you already mentioned them like a few months ago. I was like, no, I like those, but those were recommendations for you to open your minds. Let me talk about my diehard ones. And I will mention Marshall, and I will mention Derek Riggs and Wilkinson and comic book artists, and they'll be like, okay, so this is what personality you like the most. I was like, yeah, that's my go-to favorite type of illustration or art. But then and that's one portion of the class. The rest of the semester, I talk about illustration used in many different media for many different stories, not specifically heavy metal. Like it would be super boring. Just as like one class, and I mean not for me, but for many of the
well, if you only get one metalhead per semester, or per year, it could be a small class.
Yeah, and one about all of that. Look, when I came out of this of studied art, and I figured out that it was able to work with heavy metal bands, and I start getting closer to the ones that I like the most. Like for me, working for. Do you remember a band called Savage Circus?
Yeah, Toman was part of Savage Circus for a bit, wasn't he? And was Kai?
No, Iron Savior. Kai was when I got to work with for the last record they've made, Savage Circus, and then the singer's other band, Persuader, and then Iron Savior, which was way before Eyster and Blind Guardian. At that point, I thought like, this thing is working out. I'm getting closer to more and more bands that I have all their records on my collection. Okay, awesome. And then I made a mental list, like, which was like, okay, Blind Guardian, try it, try it, try it, and maybe it's gonna happen. And these other bands, and one of the top 3 or top 4 bands on that list was always Gamma Ray. You know Gamma Ray, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So last year, out of all of the years, Gamma Ray, that everybody knows, Kai is spending his time with Halloween, which is pretty awesome. Gamma Ray still alive, but as many bands, because of the COVID situation, stopped. They thought, let's make a live stream of a show with a pretty limited amount of fans, but let's sell digital tickets and let's just have a show to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the band. It's shitty that it happened on 2020, but let's just do something about it. Let's just not let 2020 pass without a celebration of the 30th anniversary, right? And they invited Ralph Shippers, which is their original singer, and Kai stuck in, and they all got together in Germany to do this. So I followed all of these bands. I follow on Instagram and Facebook. So I see that they're gonna make this show to celebrate the 30th anniversary. And the image that they used to promote this was super simple, effective, but simple, like a picture of them from 10 years ago, which I was like, hey, that you look the same, probably 10 years ago. Graphically okay, typography okay, but I was like, this is their fucking 30th anniversary. I as a fan, I'm not gonna let this thing go. Another long night, and I create this at up until that point a fan art for Gamma Ray, and this is probably the 5th time that I try to reach them with a fan art, which is something I rarely do, but it's to create something inspired on the visual universe of that band, out of risk, out of love, making sure that they see it and hopefully generate a reaction on them. Like, for example, holy shit, we need to hire this guy. This is used on many media. The movie industries does this all the time. Like, directors and producers will spend a couple of $100,000 on creating a demo, a prototype, one scene, and then they go to the studios like, dude, I made this with my money. It's okay. If it doesn't happen, nothing happens, I'll treasure it. But if you pay attention to this is how the movie is gonna look, and then you give me the money. It happens on many different media, like to create that hook, right? So once again, and maybe for the 5th or 6th time, because Gamma Ray had played a couple of times in Bogota, and every time they came, I would create fan art of Gamma Ray, wait them like after the show, say hi, and say like, look, I do this. This is for you. Take it. Think about it. My email's on the back. It never happened. They would react to it and say, hey man, this is pretty awesome. Okay, maybe. And then nothing happened. No email back, no nothing. And many bands, which is something I respect, if they generate, which happens would be a cool relationship with an artist for a couple of years, they treasure it and they keep it. If it's working, why change it, right?
Makes sense. Yeah.
But what I'm trying to get to is never stop. That's what I'm trying to get. So 5th time I'm trying to catch the attention of Gamma Ray. And you would think if you put ego into it, and ego just reminds you of the first time you showed them an idea and they said no, ego is gonna fuck you up. Ego is gonna shut your dreams. If you suppose what they are thinking, you're fucked. Don't suppose what the other person is thinking. He could be thinking many things, and probably not the one you're supposing. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I think I'm
And then
following.
again, So I created this fan art celebrating gamma ray with this character that originally was used by Halloween called the Fang Face, and then used with gamma ray. I created a pretty sweet 30th anniversary gamma ray fan art, and I just sent it to a person I knew used to work with them or help them with promotion that I talked to frequently on Facebook, and I said, "Hey, could you show this? I saw the news last night. I think this needs a proper image. Is 30 years, dude. Come on." And I created this last night out of risk. If they want to use it, just use it. 6th attempt. I don't give a fuck. I don't want money. I just can't sleep seeing this. I love this band.
For 30th, it's gotta be important.
Yeah, 5 or 6 hours after that, I was talking to the bass player, to Dirk, and now we're pretty close friends.
Really?
Yeah, 6 hours after
just
that.
like that. So now, Bards, never give up. Words from Felipe Machado Franco.
Right, and it's just the right moment, and the same thing happened with Blind Guardian. There was a time before I started working with them in 2010. Between 2010 and 2004 or even 2005, I used to reach the band, or in this case Hansi, through an email they had. Then they went to another management, and it wasn't it wasn't an email that the band would open. So I was lucky. Back then, that email on their website was still managed by them. Now it's managed by a couple of managers. And I would send an email like, "Hey, Blind Guardian, this is Felipe. This is my website. I wanted to ask you if at some point I could do some art for you." And every year I would send that email, and Hansi would reply to me personally like, "Hey, Felipe, I remember you. It's getting better. I like your artworks from this year better than the year before. We're not recording right now. Thanks for your email." It was probably 5 or 6 years, one email a year, just saying hi and letting them know that I had this dream and that I kept studying illustration.
What a professional way. Like, wow.
And he would reply to me like, "Hey, it's you again. Yeah, cool. No, look, and a couple of those emails were like, "No, we already have the artwork." And I was a little heartbroken. I was like, "Oh man," but I didn't understand, or maybe I didn't want to understand, that I wasn't ready. As an illustrator, I wasn't ready. And then on the 6th year of this once a year, hello, I'm alive, I love you guys. Right, it was like magic. The week I thought like, am I gonna continue this shit? Am I gonna still say hi once a year? And before I send that email, I got an email from Hansi like, "Hey, Felipe, last night we were looking at your portfolio website. You've improved pretty cool stuff for this bands and this bands. I noticed you're working with John and Iced Earth. We are started production, and we have a brief of some of the stuff we want. This is it. It's out of risk. Show us some ideas. The same information is." Some other artists are going to show us some other ideas, so it's out of risk. This is your chance. Good luck. And I was like, "Fuck." There's a documentary of Hansi that comes on the At the Edge of Time, where he mentions that I sent him like 3 half-finished covers in a matter of 8 hours after that email, which is probably true.
No.
And he got back to me like, "Dude, all of these ideas are awesome, especially number 3. This was fast. Oh my God. And I just want you to know that we're going to go with you. So congratulations."
Wow, man. So how close were your covers to what would become the At the Edge of Time cover? Or did you start like single art?
Not that close.
Not even close.
No, not that close. It involves a pyramid and a dragon, but no, it mutated a lot, and it shifted a lot, and and it changed a lot. But that's how it happened actually. Me, and I would still. I mean, dude, if I go back to that art school ideal list of bands that I would like to work with at least once in my lifetime, there's like three or two missing from that list. I cannot complain. I mean, this has been a career. I cannot complain. I mean, I've worked with most of all of the bands on that ideal list I had. And if I don't work with the few that are left on that list, I'm 42 right now. Fuck it. I mean, I love this stuff. I keep doing it. I'm right now working with amazing bands, new bands that I knew existed for the first time a week ago or 2 weeks ago. Bands that are still working with me. Uh, if my body and mind allows it, I plan to keep on doing this for many more years because I love it. I genuinely love creating album covers for bands. And if a new one that I really admire as a fan comes along, just as the gamma ray thing that happened last year. I mean, I went back and I thought, dude, 22 years after, finally I get to do some official art for gamma ray. Things happen at some point and they happen for a reason. And when I look back, I think this was the right time. I feel as an artist, this was the right time to do something for that band, for gamma ray in this case, worth it. Worth it that I, as a fan, as an artist, many years after, 20 years, 20 something years after, see in my art and I think, like, oh, it's good that it happened now and not before because I feel I'm painting better now. I like more my art now than the last time I reached them. So the pieces sometimes get together easier than other times, and yeah, I can tell you that about how I kept on reaching Hansi and Blind Guardian, and how he was patient enough to get back to me saying, "Hey, again, another year." And he actually went into my portfolio, and talking with him in a couple of after shows, he told me, "You were good, but you weren't ready. But now you're ready. So stop bitching about it. Can we have a beer?" Because I was like, "Did you remember I reached you once a year?" I was like, "Of course, I have those emails, and you were okay, a great artist at that time, but not ready for us. But you got better, and then I reached you, and that's it." So you have to. There's only one way to learn that stuff, and just let time do his job. But I talk about this stuff with my students, and I would like to think that it gives them more comfort than the comfort I had when I was studying the was balancing. I know this is what I want to do with my life, and I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna reach for it. But how can I deal with uncertainty and anxiety on the journey towards finding this goal? That's the key moment that I would like to think comes when I talk with my students and with you guys about this. Like never stop, and sounds super cheesy, like super cheesy. Never stop, but really, never fucking stop. And when you get a no, just breathe and take it easy and think a little bit. Imagine yourself on the mind of the person that told you no, and just breathe. Just put ego on the side and just think, what went probably into the mind of this person, and let's think about the less dramatic approach for him to or her to say no. And let's try again, not tomorrow because I'm gonna look like a maniac. Let's try again a year from now. And I in my mind, I think I reached the band before I got my first chance with them, and before A Voice in the Dark at the Edge of Time, maybe 5 or 6 years of this one email a year. Imagine that.
I hope the listeners at home are paying close attention to that, because that's some incredible advice, man. Very much so.
Thank you. Yeah, no, and over here in my town and in Colombia, it changed. But there was a time when being a metalhead or a metal kid meant being an outsider, blocking yourself out of the community, eventually even being mean a little bit, or not reaching out. And then when I started attending shows outside of Colombia, I saw something different, like happiness, like friendship, like laughter, like even on a dead or black metal show, you will see people just having fun. And I came back here and I was like, yeah, my culture in particular, in that sense, maybe has to learn a few things about just chilling out, just like. And I thought like being a metal kid doesn't have to mean to always look mean and shut yourself out of the world. And I started to talk about that with my metal friends here, and because of me and other people, that myth of being an asshole because you listen to metal started changing here, and it already changed a lot. I mean, if you go to a concert now here in Bogota, the mood and the attitude is not a whole different thing, and it comes along with just talking about stuff like if I make a line for a concert here, some people will recognize me, and I always have a good attitude to talk to them. Like, hey, are you the guy that works with this band? Yeah. Hey, how much do you charge for an album cover for me? I'm like, okay, reach me. Here's my email. I'm not gonna tell you right now because I don't know what you want.
Yeah.
It could be super easy, cheap, or super complicated, expensive. Ah, right. And just reaching out. It's a community in the end, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, you said you had a very small list of people that you haven't worked with yet. Is there anybody left on that list that you really would like to work with?
Halloween could be cool. I love Sabaton. I love that man. That could be cool. Uh, Depending on how they compose music, Nightwish could be interesting at some point. Not that many. I mean, I love metal in general, and I'm not the type of guy on my list. There was never a Megadeth, for example. I love Megadeth, but there was never a Megadeth on my list. Not because of my thought of unreachable, just because visually I thought like they have cool covers, but I prefer reached out to Blind Guardian than Megadeth at that point. So I can tell you that one of the happiest things that could happen to me as an illustrator for metal bands is working on the very first album of a new band. Almost as exciting, or maybe even more exciting than getting a chance with a big band. When I get reached by a young band, super excited because they're going to have an album cover made by an artist that they admire, and we come to an agreement and it's going to work, and it's brand new. It's their Battalions of Fear, and it's in my hands to figure out their visual language, their world building, the very first album cover that in many ways, if we do it right, it's going to dictate an iconography for the rest of the albums. That's the best job ever, because your mind is blanked and you're like, this has to be new, this has to be different, this has to be unique, this is the stepping point. What if this band makes it and it's going to have 20 records? So I better do a kick-ass job with this first record of this band, because what if they are the next Blind Guardian? That's super exciting to work on the very first album of a new band. It really is.
That's cool. I think that a lot of people, a lot of artists might have a different view on that, right? Because of course there's a lot of accolades to be, the cover artist of Blind Guardian, or the guy who's doing the next Nightwish album or whatever it is. But for someone to really appreciate the growth of those artists is kind of rare. That's very cool.
Oh man, just yesterday I got the first, what I think is the first t-shirt, and definitely the first record from an amazing band from San Diego, California called Night Shadow. Oh man, what a fan job it was. I mean, super epic cover, easy to work with them, open to ideas. And the best thing about it is I listened to the record last night and it's fucking amazing. It genuinely is. And sometimes I would get a record that I illustrated that I would listen to and I'm like, ugh, it's okay. As a fan, I mean, it happens, right? You have your favorites like any other person. Last night, what a great surprise it was to listen to Night Shadow's first new album. Trashy, melodic, well recorded, really good album. Like, double proud to work with them. I mean, I was already proud to work with them because they're pretty cool guys. But now I'm double proud because it's like, damn it, I made this cover and this album is super cool. Which is also really a cool thing that happens on my type of work. Are you ready for the to test?
I was gonna ask, but I didn't want to interrupt.
No. How many? So I guess how many hours have we been talking?
I actually don't got a clock.
Almost 3.
Because I'm full screen.
Almost 3 hours.
Oh my gosh! Really? This is officially my longest interview.
Really?
I'm so sorry, Felipe. You don't have any time constraints, did I? Oh.
No, I don't. Man. Let me stop sharing. Okay.
There we go. I can see you now. Yeah.
Okay. So
all right.
No.
So
but we're gonna meet. We're gonna meet again to talk about the first. I mean the At the Edge of Time art. And we're gonna come meet again to talk about Memories, A Traveler's Guide, Twilight of the Gods, and Beyond the Red Mirror. I have those files ready, but I think we're gonna enjoy it more if we come back to it. Don't you think?
Absolutely, I agree. And that's my fault because I honestly completely underestimated how much extra material there would be on there. So I'm looking forward to it, my friend. But for the listeners who don't know, Felipe had this awesome idea. We're going to play a little Blind Guardian trivia, and we each get one question. But Felipe, of course, being the reigning champ, I'm not sure I got much hope on it. But I'm looking forward to the challenge.
I'm scared. Look, but a couple of rules.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you a question. And you better try to be fairly quick about your answer.
Okay.
Because if you know how to search the internet like a spy, you could find the answer in a matter of 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay.
So I'm gonna be fair. If you hit with your question and I sincerely don't know the answer, because I don't know it or I don't remember it in time.
Okay.
I'm gonna be super mature about it and say, "You got me. You fucking
Absolutely.
got me." So that's the only thing I ask of you in return.
100%.
I want to hear you first, dude.
You want to hear mine? Okay. This one's kind of a tricky one because it kind of deals with, Lucifer heritage and kind of the early days. So it might be it might be a little cheating, but okay. So my question for you, my friend, and let me just see if I can find it here. Okay. So before Hansi joined Lucifer's heritage, Andre and HP and Marcus Dork recorded a demo under which name?
Okay, so we're not talking about Lucifer heritage material, right?
No, this is pre.
Oh, shit. I know I saw this information at some point. Dude, I had this feeling you were gonna go super back. Oh man. Are you asking me about a band name?
Yeah. You betcha. There's a band name before Lucifer Heritage. And again, it's kind of cheating because Hansi wasn't quite in the picture, but technically they're all, they're guys who were on original demos. So,
And who were the guys who were there?
We got Marcus Dork, Andre, and Hans-Peter Fry.
Oh man.
And actually,
No.
Marcus was the vocalist at that point.
Oh shit. I know the answer, but I forgot it.
I'm not gonna lie, man. That was my only good one. I was like trying to rack my brain. I'm like, nah, he'll know that. He'll know that.
I'll give up. What was the name of the band?
Zero Fault. Actually, the only reason I can kind of cheat on that one is because Hans-Peter mentioned it once in an interview, and then he mentioned it on the podcast as well. So I kind of cheated a bit on that one. But
dude, I want to see that. I want to see that interview. I mean, that dude can tell. I bet he knows a bunch of stuff. From the very beginning.
HP was awesome. If you're gonna listen to the interview, do it on an audio form, because I was so green at doing this whole thing that I was just giddy as a schoolboy. So it's, for my sake, save me the embarrassment and listen to my Spotify, because it's much.
No, it's okay.
Much better. Okay, so
I will. Oh, what was the name? Zero what?
Zero Fault.
The name of the band.
Yeah, Zero Fault.
Zero Fault.
Yeah, it's funny because he told me they recorded a demo. It's cool not on Discogs, so it was never really released. I guess I don't know. It's nowhere. But I got a feeling I'm gonna get my ass handed to me here.
Here it goes.
All right,
here it goes,
quick.
and I'm gonna give you a few.
All right.
Entries. And you're gonna say, I know everything about that fucking song.
No.
Bring it. So it's a question related. It's a question related to the song Valhalla.
Valhalla. Okay.
So on the lyrics of that song, Hansi mentions a character called Morgrey the Dark.
Morgrey the Dark.
Which author created that character?
Morgrey the Dark. I'm not gonna lie. I don't got a huge. I'm not entirely sure. I'm gonna lean towards Robert Jordan, but I'm thinking it's the guy who did the Eternal Champion stuff.
No,
not
Hansi
even
created. What? Hansi created that character.
What? Really?
Really? Because once, and I'm gonna show you this next time, for a Comic-Con, I made an illustration celebrating Valhalla, which was a poster that you could only get at a Comic-Con. So that month I got all into Valhalla to do the artwork. Like I listened to the song again, I read the lyrics, and then I was reading the lyrics, and it's almost on the third or second line, he mentions Morgrey the Dark enters the throne. And I was like, and then I Googled like Morgrey the Dark, no, zero info, dude, like nothing. And I was like, what? And then we met to do the art direction. I was like, hey, Hansi, one question. Who the fuck is Morgrey the Dark? I was like, oh, it's a character I created for the story.
Oh, what about gosh.
Him? Oh, I don't know. I just thought the name on my mind. And I thought about him returning to Valhalla. And I just created him. I'm like, dude, write a fucking book. I've told him many times, write some books.
I saw an interview with Hansi where he mentions it. He won't do it. He thinks the musical style is enough. You know what I mean? But
no, and it's okay. I mean, he has a medium to tell his story.
That's fair.
Which is awesome. And we got all of his ideas on this band. But he was like super chill about it. I was like, oh yeah, one day I was thinking like, what story I want to tell, and I didn't want to mention Thor. I didn't want to mention Hela. So I thought, let's make something of my own. And there's this guy called Morgrey the Dark. And I was like, awesome. What about him? He was like, I've never thought about him. And I was like, shouldn't we do like a comic book or something about him? Yeah, let's keep that in mind.
Oh, well, I'm looking forward to getting a signed copy from you. Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's the plan.
That's crazy. Plan. I had no idea.
So yeah, that dude is a creation of Hansi.
Wow. Well, the things you learn.
Sounds pretty badass. I mean, Morgrey, it's like your name. It's almost as epic as your name, which is a secret name. Man. And then the Dark. It's like, who is this guy?
Oh, but it's weird. Even just hearing that, like I got kind of a visual, he's like a thin guy, like very, very menacing kind of dude. Like, you could see it, man. Like, absolutely.
Have you
Wow.
ever heard that? Have you ever heard that apparently the song "Goodbye, My Friend" is inspired on the movie E.T., the
I
extraterrestrial E.T.?
never heard that before. It's inspired by E.T.?
Apparently.
Really? I had
So
no idea.
if you go back, if you go back and listen to it, and it's an amazing song, one of my favorite ones from the band. And you go back and you imagine it fall of the movie, it makes a lot of sense. It does make a lot of sense.
Huh. Yeah,
Crazy, right?
that is kind of crazy. Like I now I'm gonna go. I know what I'm spinning tonight on the turntable, man. I can tell you that for free. I'll
Right.
try and do like they did with
Right.
Dark Side of the Moon, just sync up ET with Blind Guardian this time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And there's
my
the art wall.
my camera switch. Yeah, I collected. Most of them are comic book artists or dudes that work on Marvel or video games. I love to go to events like Comic-Con and stuff like that. Nuclear Blast has invited me a couple of times, and I get to do promotion for the bands, which is awesome. But I also get to meet like my heroes. So yeah, there's all of these are like ink or drawing original drawings for many amazing artists that or artists that we brought here to Bogota to do the workshops that I talked about. So yeah, it's my little original art wall.
That's
Me doing everything digital. I do everything on pixels, but I collect ink.
No, does that include
make
those little
sense.
stick figures as well that you take the pictures of beforehand, like the ones that you layer on top of? Is that also on the computer?
Yeah. I think I mentioned if you want to be lazy with your anatomy or your perspective, you can use a software as easy as 3D Poser, I think is the name, and it gives you the basic anatomy, and it solves a bunch of stuff, and it gets faster.
But it even comes across with sort of that graphite sort of look to it too, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it depends on what you want to do. I mean, if you go into many of the 90s and early 2000s work made by Derek Riggs, it's full on 3D model, like
Really?
full on the stuff he did for Gamma Ray and Stratovarius, full on 3D, very little Photoshop. He became a genius on 3D modeling and rendering and lighting 3D. And at the point, I mean, I still look at those artworks and I like them, most of them, and they looked a little cold in general compared to the acrylic stuff he usually made for Iron Maiden.
Huh.
You can tell is the same artist, but the medium is radically different. But still interesting. I mean, I know people that don't like that much the ultra 3D digital stuff he made. Other people even prefer that stuff to the acrylic stuff he made for Iron Maiden. I'm okay with both. I would probably go more towards the Iron Maiden acrylic stuff because
Really?
of light, volume, and the atmosphere of the album covers. Definitely, yeah.
It's incredible, man.
Mm.
Well, Felipe, I've taken so much of your time, man.
That's okay.
I think we should.
It's been super fun.
It has been a great
Super
time,
fun.
and I'm looking forward to our next rendezvous. Before we go, is there anything else you'd like to say to anybody listening or to any aspiring artists out there?
Oh, just one thing. For the next meeting, you better think about your next trivia question. Because every time we meet, we got to do one, okay?
I'd love it. All right, then that's a recurring section.
Because from my point of view, there was no winner this time, right?
I think you won that easy. Yours could be found. I cheated a little on mine.
There was there was no winner, so we have to do a second round.
That sounds fair to me.
Once again, thank you so much for the for doing all of this. I mean, for us Blind Guardian fans, it's just a thrill for you to have this space and the time that you spend commenting the band, doing the archaeology of the stories. It's pretty sweet. I mean, it's pretty sweet that you're doing this, and I have the feeling that you have many more stories to talk about, and it keeps the fans together, which is amazing, especially in a time like this when it's so frustrating not to have the shows. I know for the bands it's been a hard time because out of all of the sudden the lifestyle and way of living out of music is stopped because not being able to play live for the bands, it's awful. It's super awful, and eventually it's gonna come back. We know we're gonna pull off, but having this sort of medium and spaces on a time as difficult as the pandemic time, it's amazing, dude. Really, what the time you spend in this and the love you put into the band, it's really cool. I wouldn't be surprised that sooner than later you could even have an episode with Hansi and Andre. I think eventually it could happen. If you ever have an episode with Andreas Marshall and you want some cool questions, reach me before because I have so many questions for him. I am his biggest fan. He knows it. He knows I'm his biggest fan.
Absolutely, man. You're the first person I'm reaching to. Probably before I even announce it, I'll message you. But I'm
Awesome.
honored by your words.
So
man.
yeah, let's thank you again. And as you noticed, and you guys out there noticed, I have a couple of other stories to show and some other artwork and process to show, and we're gonna come back to it.
Sounds great
in
to
a
me.
few days.
Well, my friends, this closes another chapter in Podcast from the Twilight World. We thank you again, Felipe, for coming on and sharing so much, so many stories never heard before, except in these walls. And if you liked what you saw, definitely check us out on Facebook. But more importantly, go check out Felipe's portfolio, man. Like, he has so many pieces of art. He's worked with so many different bands. Definitely give him a check out and check us out while you're there. But for now, let's leave it to the memories and kiss the wind goodbye. Podcast from the Twilight World would like to thank Acoustic Guardian for providing the breathtaking cover of And Then There Was Silence, my wife April Bell for designing the cool crest and logo for the podcast, and of course all the bards from the Twilight World, and those listening, thank you.
Still the wind blows, calm and silent, carries news from the distance.